Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if Ben 10 was in the Marvel Universe. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. The sky ripped open above New York City like someone had taken cosmic scissors to reality itself. Ben Tennyson tumbled through the tear, arms windmilling as he plummeted toward the concrete jungle below. The 16-year-old hero had exactly 3 thoughts in rapid succession: this is bad. This is really bad. And wow, that building has a giant on it. Come on, come on. Ben slapped at the Omnitrix on his wrist, the alien device glowing green as he cycled through his transformations. Not now, you stupid watch. The ground rushed up faster than his patience. With a desperate twist, Ben slammed down on the dial. Green light enveloped his falling form just before impact. Swamp fire. The plant-based alien crashed into a newspaper stand, scattering the Daily Bugle everywhere. The vendor screamed and ran as Ben pulled himself up, his regenerative body already healing from what would have been fatal damage to a human. Sorry about that. Ben called out, flames flickering from his palms as he steadied himself. I'll pay for, a car alarm wailed as people pointed and shouted. Some ran. Others pulled out phones to record. Great, Ben muttered. New York looks different. He glanced up at unfamiliar skyscrapers and the strange absence of the familiar plumber bases hidden throughout his version of the city. Really different. A police siren wailed in the distance. And that's my cue. Ben took off running, ducking into an alley. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest blinked red before timing out, green light washing over him as he reverted to human form, a teenager with brown hair, green eyes, and his signature white shirt with black stripe and green cargo pants. Okay, think, Tennyson. Ben leaned against a brick wall, trying to catch his breath. Last thing I remember, Grandpa Max was testing that new dimensional stabilizer, then Gwen warned about an energy spike, and then, here. He tapped the Omnitrix. Guess I'm on my own until the watch recharges. No Gwen, no Kevin, no, freeze. Hands where I can see, M. 2 police officers stood at the alley entrance, guns drawn. Ben slowly raised his hands. Officers, there's been a misunderstanding, save it, kid. We got reports of some kind of fire monster. You seen anything? Before Ben could answer, something red and blue dropped between them from above. Hey guys. I think you're looking for me. The figure wore a red and blue suit with a spider emblem on the chest. Sorry about the commotion. Just another day saving the city. The police hesitated. Spider-Man. The monster was green, not green. Oh. That was just, my new friend here helping with my science project. Yeah. Green smoke bombs for crime fighting. The officers exchanged looks. Science project? With smoke bombs? You know how it is with vigilante gadgets these days. Gotta stay ahead of the curve. Spider-Man gave an exaggerated thumbs up. One officer holstered his weapon with a sigh. Just keep it down, alright? And get a permit next time. As the police retreated, Spider-Man turned to Ben. So, plant monster guy, huh? That's a new one even for this city. I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, by the way. Ben's jaw dropped. Spider-Man? Like, the actual Spider-Man? With the webs and the, wait. His excitement faded to confusion. Spider-Man is a comic book character where I'm from. Comic book? Flattering, but pretty sure I'm flesh and blood. Spider-Man poked himself in the arm. Unless I missed a really important memo about being fictional. That would explain my bank account though. Ben ran a hand through his hair. This is gonna sound crazy, but I think I'm from another dimension. One where you guys are all made up. Another dimension. Spider-Man's mask lenses widened. Well, that would explain the whole falling from a portal in the sky thing. Which, by the way, I caught on my way to stop a mugging. Multitasking. You saw that? Hard to miss a screaming kid falling through a tear in reality. I was about to catch you when you went all Plant Man. Pretty cool trick. Ben held up his wrist, showing the Omnitrix. It's not a trick. This is the Omnitrix. It lets me transform into different aliens. Aliens? Spider-Man leaned in closer. As in plural. How many we talking? Over 70 at this point. I've lost count. 70. Spider-Man made an exaggerated stagger backward. And I thought having one spider power package was a lot to handle. You're like a buffet of superpowers. Ben couldn't help but grin. Despite the dire situation, there was something surreal and awesome about talking to an actual Spider-Man. So, you got a name, Dimension Hopper? Or should I just call you Watch Boy? It's Ben. Ben Tennyson. Well, Ben, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your sudden appearance hasn't gone unnoticed. Spider-Man gestured up toward a small drone hovering above the alley. That's Stark Tech. Which means in about. He looked at an imaginary watch on his wrist. 30 seconds, this place is gonna be swarming with people way above my pay grade. As if on cue, the drone projected a small hologram, a goateed man in sunglasses. Unidentified enhanced individual, this is Tony Stark. Stay where you are. A team is en route to your location. Iron Man 2. Ben's eyes widened. Okay, this is officially the coolest and most terrifying day of my life. Welcome to my world, Spider-Man quipped. Should we stay put or make a dramatic exit? I vote exit. Much more fun. Ben considered his options. The Omnitrix glowed green again, recharged and ready. I've never been great at following orders from people I don't know. Even if they're supposedly heroes. That's the spirit. Follow me. Spider-Man shot a web line upward. Can any of those 70 aliens keep up with your friendly neighborhood wall crawler? Ben grinned, twisting the Omnitrix dial. Let's find out. Green light flashed as Ben transformed. Where the teenager had stood was now a blue-skinned, moth-like alien with large wings. Big Chill. His spectral voice echoed through the alley. Whoa. That's, both awesome and slightly nightmare-inducing. Spider-Man swung upward. Race you to that water tower. Big Chill's wings unfurled as he turned intangible and shot skyward, phasing through a fire escape like it wasn't there. Sweet Christmas. Spider-Man yelped, narrowly avoiding swinging face-first into a wall. You can go through things too. One of many talents, Big Chill replied, keeping pace with the web-slinger as they traveled across the city. Where are we going? Somewhere we can talk without. Spider-Man's spider sense tingled as something whizzed past his head. Company. A sleek aircraft decloaked above them, the SHIELD logo emblazoned on its underside. This is Agent Maria Hill of SHIELD. Spider-Man, stand down and bring the alien in. This doesn't concern you. Sorry, Agent Hill. Spider-Man called back. Already made friends with the new guy. Besides, his story's just getting interesting. Big Chill looked at the craft. Who's SHIELD? International spy agency with cool toys and trust issues. Spider-Man explained mid-swing. They're the good guys, mostly, but they shoot first and ask questions while shooting. Not a fan of that approach. Big Chill turned intangible as the aircraft fired capture nets that passed harmlessly through him. Whoa! Did you see that? Spider-Man laughed. 10 points to the Mothman. Hill's voice came through again, more stern. This is your final warning. I've got this, Big Chill said, inhaling deeply. He exhaled a freezing vapor that coated the aircraft's engines, causing them to sputter. You did not just ice a shield, Quinjet. Spider-Man sounded equal parts horrified and impressed. Relax, it's temporary. Big Chill banked right. It'll thaw before they hit the ground. The aircraft began a controlled descent as Spider-Man led Big Chill toward a rooftop several blocks away. That was either really brave or really stupid, Spider-Man said as they landed. Either way, I approve. The Omnitrix symbol on Big Chill's chest blinked red, and in a flash, Ben was back to his human form. Oh man, Spider-Man tilted his head. You're just a kid. I'm 16, Ben protested. And I've been doing the hero thing since I was 10. Since you were 10? And I thought I started young. Spider-Man pulled off his mask, revealing a young man not much older than Ben with messy brown hair. Peter Parker. Figure if you're dimension hopping, secret identities are the least of our worries. Wait, you're Spider-Man. But you're like, barely older than me. 20. That's practically ancient in superhero years. Peter grinned, then grew serious. Look, S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to find us again soon, and then probably the Avengers too. We need a game plan. The Avengers? Ben's eyes lit up. Like Captain America, Thor, and Hulk. Yeah, those guys. My sometimes teammates who definitely don't want strange dimension hoppers freezing their equipment. Ben's excitement dimmed. Right. Not exactly making the best first impression. Hey, if it helps, my first interaction with Iron Man involved him confiscating my suit. We're cool now though. Peter leaned against an air conditioning unit. So how'd you get here anyway? Ben explained about his grandfather's experiment with the dimensional stabilizer, Gwen's warning, and the portal that opened. And now I'm stuck in a world where my favorite comic book heroes are real, and I have no idea how to get home. Peter tapped his chin thoughtfully. Well, if anyone can help with dimensional tech, it's Tony Stark. Or Doctor Strange, but that guy gives me the creeps with his cape that moves on its own. Tony Stark. Ben looked at the Omnitrix. Could he really help? If he doesn't try to dissect your watch first, yeah. That's reassuring. Just being honest. The guy sees cool tech and gets all grabby. Peter mimed making grabbing motions. Before Ben could respond, a mechanical whine filled the air. Both teens turned to see Iron Man hovering at the edge of the rooftop, repulsors glowing. Nice trick with the Quinjet, kid. Mind telling me how a teenager has access to cryotechnology that advanced? Tony's faceplate retracted, revealing an unimpressed expression. Ben straightened his posture. It's not tech. Well, the watch is, but the ice breath is just one of my alien forms. Alien forms. Tony repeated flatly. He landed on the roof with a metallic clank. Right. And I'm guessing you're not from around here either. He's from another dimension, Mr. Stark. Peter chimed in excitedly. One where we're all comic book characters. Tony's eyebrows shot up. Is that so? Well, I always knew I had star quality. He approached Ben, studying the Omnitrix. That's some serious hardware for a kid. It chose me, Ben replied, protectively covering the watch with his other hand. And I'm not giving it up. Relax, not asking you to. But something pulled you into our reality, and dimensional breaches aren't exactly good news. Tony tapped his earpiece. Friday, any other anomalies since our visitor arrived? None detected, boss, came a feminine Irish voice. But energy readings from the breach point are still active. See? Problem. Tony pointed at Ben. You're a walking dimensional instability. It's not his fault. Peter defended. Didn't say it was, Underoos. Tony sighed. Look, Ben, was it? I'm not here to arrest you or take your fancy watch. But dimensional tears are serious business. We need to understand what happened before more people start falling out of the sky. Ben considered his options. He didn't fully trust this version of Iron Man. The comics he'd read portrayed Tony Stark as brilliant but sometimes reckless. Still, he needed help. Fine. But the Omnitrix stays with me. Wouldn't have it any other way. Tony's helmet reformed. Now, we can do this the boring way and take the Quinjet, or? Ben asked. Iron Man's repulsors fired up. We can give the city something to talk about. Can any of those alien forms fly? Ben grinned, twisting the Omnitrix dial. Just watch. In a flash of green, Ben transformed into a red, manta-ray-like alien with yellow horns extending from his head. Jetray, he announced, wings spreading. Now that's something you don't see every day, Tony commented. Race you to the tower, Fishbat. I'm a amphibian. Jetray corrected, voice nasal and fast. Whatever you say, Stingray. It's Jetray. Peter pulled his mask back on. Hey. Don't forget about me. Keep up, Spider Kid. Tony called, blasting off into the sky. Jetray zipped after him, naturally adapting to air currents with ease. Spider-Man web-slung below them, moving with surprising speed through the urban landscape. As they soared over Manhattan, Ben couldn't help feeling a rush of excitement despite his situation. Flying alongside Iron Man. Racing through a New York City filled with Marvel superheroes. If he wasn't so worried about getting home, this would be the coolest day ever. People below pointed and took pictures as the strange trio made their way toward Avengers Tower. News helicopters tried to follow but couldn't match their speed. So, Iron Man said as they flew, 70 different aliens, huh? Spider-Man told you. Friday has excellent audio pickup. Useful for eavesdropping on rooftop conversations. Jetray rolled his eyes. You're as nosy as the comics made you out to be. I prefer thoroughly informed. Speaking of which, what am I like in these comics of yours? Brilliant, arrogant, self-destructive. Sounds about right. Tony chuckled. Though I prefer confident over arrogant. They approached the gleaming Avengers Tower, its distinctive logo shining in the afternoon sun. Home sweet home, Tony announced as a section of the tower opened up to admit them. Try to avoid freezing anything important. They landed on a platform that rotated inward, bringing them into a high-tech hangar. Spider-Man swung in through another entrance moments later. No fair. You guys can fly, he complained, breathing heavily. Jetray transformed back into Ben with a flash of green light. He wobbled slightly, dizzy from the rapid transformations. You okay? Peter asked, steadying him. Yeah, just need to catch my breath. Transforming back to back takes it out of me sometimes. Tony stepped out of his armor, which folded itself into a compact unit. Well, welcome to Avengers Tower. Friday, let Cap know we have a visitor. And tell Banner to meet us in the lab. Yes, boss. Captain Rogers is currently in the training room. Dr. Banner says he'll be up in 5 minutes. Ben looked around at the sleek, futuristic interior. This is even cooler than the comics. Of course it is. I designed it. Tony gestured for them to follow. So, Dimensional Traveler, let's see what makes that watch tick. It doesn't tick, it transforms, Ben corrected. And I already told you, I'm not taking it off. And I already agreed to that. But we can still scan it, can't we? Non-invasively. Ben reluctantly nodded. Just scans. Nothing else. Scout's honor. Tony made a gesture that was definitely not the scout salute. They entered a large laboratory filled with holographic displays and partially assembled Iron Man suits. Bruce Banner looked up from a workstation, glasses perched on his nose. Tony, what's this about a dimensional? He stopped when he saw Ben. Oh. Hello. Dr. Banner. Ben's eyes widened. You're the Hulk. Bruce winced slightly. Among other things, yes. And you are? Ben Tennyson. I'm from another dimension where you guys are all characters in comics and movies. Another dimension? Bruce removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. Tony, please tell me you didn't break reality again. Why does everyone always assume it's my fault? Tony protested. The kid fell through a portal, not me. Because the last 3 reality-bending incidents had your fingerprints all over them, Bruce countered. As they bantered, Ben noticed Steve Rogers entering the lab, still in workout clothes and slightly sweaty. I hear we have a visitor, Steve said, extending a hand to Ben. Steve Rogers. Ben shook it, trying not to geek out. Ben Tennyson, sir. It's an honor. I've read all your comics, well, where I'm from they're comics. Steve raised an eyebrow. Comics, huh? Do they get my good side? The best side, Ben assured him. You're like, the ultimate hero. Steve chuckled. I just try to do what's right. I understand you have some unusual abilities. Show 'em, Ben. Peter encouraged. Ben hesitated, then activated the Omnitrix. This device lets me transform into different aliens. Each with their own powers. Fascinating, Bruce moved closer. May I? Ben allowed Bruce to examine the Omnitrix without touching it. The energy signature is unlike anything I've ever seen, Bruce murmured. Quantum entanglement properties, possibly extradimensional matter. It was created by a Galvan named Asmuth, Ben explained. The smartest being in my universe. Galvan? Tony asked. Small gray aliens with huge heads. Super intelligent. Like the Skrulls? Steve asked. No, more like. I could show you. Ben suggested. The Avengers exchanged glances before Tony shrugged. Labs reinforced. Go for it. Ben twisted the dial, cycling through aliens until he found the right one. With a slam of his palm, green light enveloped him. When it faded, in Ben's place stood a 6-inch tall, frog-like gray alien with large green eyes. Gray matter, he announced in a high-pitched voice. Fascinating. Bruce knelt down to eye level. Complete molecular restructuring. And conservation of mass where? Tony wondered aloud, scanning gray matter with a handheld device. The excess matter must be stored somewhere. In a quantum pocket dimension linked to the Omnitrix, gray matter explained, his enhanced intelligence making complex concepts simple. The transformation sequence deconstructs the user's DNA and reconstructs it according to the selected species template, while maintaining cognitive continuity through a proprietary consciousness transfer algorithm. The scientist stared at him. What? Gray matter asked. This form has enhanced intelligence. I understand the Omnitrix better when I'm gray matter. Tony, are you getting this? Bruce asked, eyes wide. Every word. Friday, compile all scan data. Tony crouched down. So, Tiny Einstein, any chance you know how to get yourself home? Gray matter sighed. Unfortunately, no. The dimensional coordinates for my universe aren't stored in the Omnitrix. That's why. Grandpa Max was working on the stabilizer in the first place. Then we'll have to figure it out the old-fashioned way, Bruce said. Meaning science the hell out of it, Tony added. The Omnitrix symbol on gray matter's back blinked red, and moments later Ben was back to normal. Sorry, can't hold alien forms indefinitely. The Omnitrix needs to recharge. Steve, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Ben, while our scientists work on getting you home, we should discuss your situation. If you're stuck here for a while, you'll need a place to stay, and we'll need to establish some ground rules. Ground rules? Ben frowned. Cap's big on rules, Tony explained with a smirk. I prefer to think of it as structure, Steve corrected. You have abilities that could easily hurt people if used carelessly. I've been a hero for 6 years, Ben countered. I know what I'm doing. Different universe, different rules, Steve said firmly. Our New York has threats and complications you couldn't possibly be familiar with. Ben wanted to argue but recognized the wisdom in Steve's words. This wasn't his world, and charging in blindly could cause more harm than good. Fine. What kind of rules? Before Steve could answer, alarms blared throughout the tower. Friday, report. Tony called out. Multiple explosions detected in Midtown. Facial recognition has identified Hydra agents at 3 locations. Hydra? Ben asked. Nazi science cult that refuses to stay dead, Steve explained grimly, already moving toward the door. Tony, suit up. Banner, I'll monitor from here, Bruce nodded. We don't need a code green for Hydra thugs. Steve turned to Peter and Ben. You two stay here. What? No way. Ben protested. I can help. Peter added. This isn't a training exercise, Steve said firmly. Tony, already half-suited, interjected. Actually, Cap, might not be a bad idea to bring the kids. Controlled environment, lots of backup, see what the watchwearer can really do. Steve frowned but considered it. Fine. But you follow orders, understand? Both of you. Peter nodded eagerly. Ben gave a reluctant, yes sir. Then suit up, Steve ordered. We move in 3 minutes. As the Avengers prepared, Ben cycled through the Omnitrix, considering his options. Despite his annoyance at being treated like a rookie, excitement bubbled within him. He was about to fight alongside the Avengers against Hydra. This is so cool, he whispered to himself. Right? Peter agreed, checking his web shooters. Just stay on Cap's good side. His disappointed face is worse than any supervillain. Minutes later, they were airborne in a Quinjet, heading toward the chaos in Midtown. Through the viewscreen, Ben could see smoke rising from several buildings. Hydras hit 3 locations simultaneously, Maria Hill reported from the cockpit. The Bank of America building, Grand Central Terminal, and the Baxter building. The Baxter building? Peter perked up. That's the Fantastic Four's headquarters. They're off-world at the moment, Hill explained. Which is probably why Hydra chose now to strike. What's their objective? Steve asked, shield ready. Unknown, but they've taken hostages at all 3 locations. Ben studied the tactical display, an idea forming. We need to split up. Cover more ground. Steve nodded. Tony and I will take the bank. Spider-Man, you know the Baxter building. Take 4 arms, Ben suggested. One of my strongest forms. Fine. 4 arms and Spider-Man to the Baxter building. Hill, drop Natasha at Grand Central. A red-haired woman Ben hadn't noticed before nodded silently. The Black Widow, Ben realized. Ready to show us what you can do, kid? Tony asked as the Quinjet banked toward the first drop point. Ben grinned, selecting an alien on the Omnitrix. Born ready. The rear hatch opened, and Iron Man flew out with Captain America. Natasha prepared for her drop as they approached Grand Central. You're up next, Hill called back. Baxter building in 30 seconds. Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix, transforming in a flash of green light. Where Ben had stood, a 12-foot tall, 4-armed, red-skinned alien now towered. 4 arms, he bellowed, flexing his massive limbs. Whoa! Peter jumped back. You weren't kidding about the arms. Or the muscles, Hill muttered from the cockpit. This is gonna be awesome. 4 arms grinned, revealing sharp teeth. The Quinjet hovered near the Baxter building's roof. Spider-Man shot a web line and swung out. Four Arms leapt after him, the force of his jump shaking the aircraft. They landed on the roof, immediately spotting Hydra agents setting up some kind of device. "Hey! Science nerds only on this roof!" Spider-Man called out, drawing their attention. The agents turned, weapons raised. When they saw Four Arms, several took involuntary steps backward. "What the hell is that?" one agent shouted. "Your worst nightmare." Four Arms charged forward, absorbing gunfire that barely penetrated his tough skin. He grabbed two agents with each pair of arms and knocked their heads together, dropping them unconscious. Spider-Man webbed up several more, swinging around to kick another in the chest. These guys aren't the usual Hydra goons. They're too well equipped. Four Arms ripped a mounted gun position from the roof and tossed it aside. They came prepared for the Fantastic Four, not us. Inside, they could hear screams. Through the rooftop access door, they spotted more agents holding scientists hostage. "We need to get in there without endangering the hostages," Spider-Man said. Four Arms studied the roof. "I have an idea. But it's risky. Those are my favorite kind." Four Arms explained his plan quickly. Spider-Man nodded, web-swinging to position himself. "Ready when you are, big guy." Four Arms slammed all four fists into the roof, creating controlled fissures that weakened a specific section. With a mighty heave, he lifted the weakened section entirely. Below, Hydra agents looked up in shock as a circular section of ceiling rose away, revealing Four Arms holding it aloft. Before they could react, Spider-Man swung through the opening, firing webs in all directions. "It's raining spiders," Peter quipped, webbing weapons and agents alike. Four Arms dropped down through the hole, landing with an impact that knocked several agents off their feet. Between Spider-Man's agility and Four Arms' raw power, the Hydra squad was quickly subdued. "The scientists are secure," Spider-Man reported over comms. "But whatever device they were setting up is still active." "Don't touch it," Tony's voice came through. "We're seeing the same thing at the bank. Could be rigged." Four Arms approached the device cautiously. "This looks like a dimensional phase shifter. Similar to tech from my world. Can you disarm it?" Steve asked over comms. Four Arms studied the device. "Maybe, but," the Omnitrix symbol on his shoulder began blinking red. "Oh. Bad timing." In a flash, Ben returned to human form just as the device started humming ominously. "That can't be good," Spider-Man said. Ben hurried to the device, recognizing components similar to his grandfather's lab equipment. "It's attempting to create a dimensional breach. They're trying to bring something through." "Or someone," came a new voice. Ben turned to see a Hydra agent they'd missed, blood trickling from his forehead as he smiled maniacally. "Hail Hydra. The Red Skull will return." Ben's eyes widened. He twisted the Omnitrix dial frantically. "Come on, recharge faster." "I got this." Spider-Man webbed the agent to the wall and moved to help Ben with the device. "Don't touch it," Ben warned. One wrong move and it could explode, taking half the building with it. The device hummed louder, energy crackling around it as a small tear in reality began to form. "Guys? We've got a situation at the Baxter building." Peter called into his comm, "Little busy at the bank." Tony replied, "Explosion sounds in the background." Ben stared at the Omnitrix, still red and recharging. He knew alien tech better than anyone here, but without transforming, his options were limited. "Spider-Man, I need you to web the left and right stabilizer coils. Don't pull them off, just create tension." Peter didn't question, immediately shooting precision webs at the components Ben indicated. Ben carefully removed the front panel, revealing a complex array of circuitry. "I need something conductive and thin." Spider-Man reached into a hidden pocket and pulled out a multi-tool. "Will this work?" "Perfect." Ben took it and carefully inserted the metal edge between two glowing circuits. On my mark, pull those webs tight, then let go immediately. Got it. The dimensional tear grew larger, swirling energy casting eerie light across the lab. Now. Peter pulled and released. Ben twisted the tool, redirecting power flow. The device sputtered, the tear shrinking rapidly before collapsing with a thunderclap that shattered nearby windows. Phew. Ben slumped back. That was close. What was that thing trying to do? Peter asked, helping Ben up. Create a stable dimensional gateway. Probably to pull this Red Skull person from wherever he's trapped. That would have been bad. Really bad. Spider-Man looked impressed. How'd you know how to stop it? Ben tapped his head. 6 years of dealing with alien tech. Some things are universal, I guess. The Omnitrix beeped, turning green again. Ben sighed in relief. Status report, Baxter team, came Steve's voice over comms. Device neutralized, hostages safe, bad guys webbed up, Spider-Man responded. Ben's a certified genius with weird tech, by the way. Same at the bank. Natasha. Grand Central secure, came the Black Widow's calm voice. But we need to talk about what they were trying to do. Agreed. Rendezvous at the tower in 30. Ben transformed into Stinkfly, a large insectoid alien with 4 wings and a tail stinger, to fly back with Spider-Man. As they soared above the city, emergency services converging on the attack sites below, Ben couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. His first mission with the Avengers, and they'd stopped a dimensional catastrophe. Not bad for your first day in a new universe, Spider-Man called over the wind. Just another Tuesday for Ben 10, Stinkfly replied with a chittering laugh. But as they approached Avengers Tower, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whoever had engineered those devices knew more about dimensional travel than he was comfortable with. And in a universe filled with supervillains, that was a dangerous combination. Meanwhile, in the shadowy depths of a castle in Latveria, a figure watched multiple screens displaying footage of the day's events. One screen showed Ben transforming into 4 arms. Another displayed the Omnitrix in detail. Most fascinating, Victor Von Doom murmured, metallic fingers steepled beneath his masked face. A device of unlimited potential in the hands of a mere child. He turned to a subordinate. The Hydra distraction served its purpose. We have all the data we need. What now, sire? Doom's eyes narrowed behind his mask. Now, we extend an invitation to our dimensional visitor. I believe young Mr. Tennyson and I have much to discuss. Back at Avengers Tower, the team assembled in the conference room. Footage from all 3 attack sites played on screens around them. The devices were identical, Tony explained. All designed to open dimensional portals. But to where? Steve wondered. Or to what, Natasha added. Ben sat quietly, the implications sinking in. In my world, dimensional travel is extremely dangerous. Opening unstable portals can destroy whole realities. Bruce nodded grimly. It's no different here. The question is, how did Hydra get this technology? Tony turned to Ben. No offense, kid, but your arrival and their sudden interest in dimensional tech seems like one coincidence too many. You think I'm involved? Ben stood up indignantly. Tony, Steve warned. I'm just saying, the timing is suspicious. I literally just got here. Ben protested. Actually, Natasha interjected, reports indicate Hydra stole components for these devices weeks ago. This operation was planned well before Ben's arrival. Tony looked slightly embarrassed. Oh. Still, Bruce said thoughtfully, they might be connected. Not Ben directly, but perhaps whatever caused him to come here also attracted Hydra's attention. Or someone noticed the dimensional breach when Ben arrived and decided to experiment, Peter suggested. A new voice joined the conversation. Or perhaps someone has been monitoring dimensional anomalies for some time, waiting for just such an opportunity. They turned to see Nick Fury entering the room, his long black coat swishing dramatically. "Director Fury," Steve acknowledged. "Rogers. Fury's one I fixed on Ben. So this is our visitor." Ben straightened unconsciously under the intimidating gaze. "Ben Tennyson, sir. I know who you are. The question is, what are we going to do with you?" "Do with me?" Ben bristled. "I'm not a problem to be solved." "No." Fury raised an eyebrow. "A teenager with a device that can transform him into dozens of powerful alien beings, dropped into our universe right as Hydra makes a play for dimensional technology. I'd call that a situation." "Director," Steve stepped in, "Ben helped us today. Without him, we might not have stopped those devices in time." "I'm aware. I'm also aware that his presence here might be exactly what our enemies wanted." The room fell silent as everyone processed Fury's words. "You think someone brought me here on purpose?" Ben asked quietly. "It's a possibility we can't ignore," Fury replied. "Which is why, until we know more, you'll be staying here under Avengers' supervision." "What?" Ben exclaimed. "I'm not a prisoner." "Think of it as protective custody," Fury countered. "For your safety and ours." Ben wanted to argue further but saw the logic. If someone had deliberately brought him to this universe, he was potentially in danger, and so was everyone around him. "Fine," he conceded. "But I want to help figure out how to get home." "Wouldn't have it any other way," Tony said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Science bros +1. Bruce rolled his eyes but nodded. "In the meantime," Steve added, "we should teach you about our world. The threats, the players, the rules. I volunteer as guide." Peter raised his hand. "Seconded," Tony said. "Who better to show the kid around than another kid?" "I'm not a kid," Peter protested. "You're both kids," Natasha stated flatly. As the Avengers debated Ben's arrangement, he felt a mix of emotions. Excitement at being among legendary heroes. Worry about getting home. And underneath it all, a nagging sense that whatever had brought him here wasn't finished with him yet. Later that night, Ben stood on the balcony of the guest quarters Tony had assigned him, staring out at the unfamiliar skyline of this New York. The Omnitrix glowed softly on his wrist, a reminder of home and responsibility. "I'll find a way back," he promised quietly. "But while I'm here." He looked down at the city, where sirens wailed in the distance. "I might as well be the hero this world needs too." Little did he know, in a laboratory deep beneath Latveria, Dr. Doom was studying the energy signature of the Omnitrix, a cruel smile forming behind his metal mask. "Soon," Doom whispered, "the power of 10,000 worlds will be mine." Chapter 2, Heroes and Monsters, Keep Your Guard Up. Black Widow called out as she swept Ben's legs from under him for the third time that morning. Ben hit the training mat with a thud, wincing as he tried to catch his breath. A week had passed since his arrival in the Marvel Universe, and the Avengers weren't exactly taking it easy on him. "I have aliens literally made for combat," Ben groaned, climbing back to his feet. "Wouldn't it make more sense to train with those?" Natasha circled him, not even breaking a sweat. "And what happens when the Omnitrix times out in the middle of a fight? Or malfunctions? Your human form needs to be able to hold its own." "She's got a point," Steve Rogers added from the sidelines, where he was wrapping his hands for his own workout. "Powers are tools, not crutches." Ben sighed and raised his fists again. "In my universe, I just hit the bad guys with Humongosaur and called it a day." "Humongo what now?" Natasha asked, throwing a combo that Ben barely blocked. 12-foot-tall dinosaur guy. Super strength. Basically invincible. Steve smiled. "Sounds like our Hulk." Speaking of which, Tony's voice came over the intercom, "If you're done getting your butt kicked, kid, Banner and I have something to show you in the lab." Ben had never been so happy to hear Tony's voice. Sorry, gotta go. Science stuff. Very important. He quickly backed away from Natasha, who rolled her eyes but let him escape. We'll pick this up tomorrow, she called after him. Double session. Ben groaned internally as he hurried to the elevator. A week of living with the Avengers had been equal parts awesome and exhausting. The tower itself was amazing, every bit as high-tech as Ben imagined, with Friday responding to his every need, training facilities that made the plumber bases look outdated, and a view of Manhattan that still took his breath away. But being treated like a rookie again? That part sucked. The elevator doors opened to the R&D level, where Tony and Bruce had been working on understanding both the Omnitrix and the dimensional breach that brought Ben here. He found them huddled around a holographic display showing what looked like energy readings. Please tell me you've figured out how to get me home, Ben said, grabbing a rolling chair and spinning it around before sitting. Not exactly, Bruce replied, adjusting his glasses. But we have made progress understanding the energy signature from your arrival. Tony flicked his fingers, expanding the hologram. The good news is, the dimensional coordinates of your universe leave a specific quantum resonance signature in the Omnitrix. Like dimensional breadcrumbs. And the bad news? Ben asked, already knowing there had to be some. The power required to open a stable portal to your exact universe would be. Bruce hesitated. Astronomical, Tony finished. We're talking tesseract levels of energy, which we definitely don't have lying around. Ben's shoulders slumped. So I'm stuck here. I didn't say that, Tony countered. Just that we need a power source. I've got a few ideas. Thor might be able to help when he gets back from whatever Viking space adventure he's on. There's something else, Bruce said, bringing up a different display. This one showed the Omnitrix itself, with strange energy patterns flowing through it. The Omnitrix seems to be adapting to our universe. Adapting how? Ben asked, suddenly concerned. It's quantum locking to our dimensional frequency, Tony explained. Basically making itself compatible with our reality. Which might explain why none of your transformations have glitched out despite being in a completely different universe. Is that bad? Bruce shook his head. Not bad, just interesting. It also means you might be able to access new transformations unique to our universe. Ben's eyes widened. New aliens? Seriously? Theoretically, Bruce nodded. Our universe has plenty of alien species the Omnitrix might be able to sample. Like Chitauri? Or Skrulls? Or Kree? Ben couldn't hide his excitement. Possibly, Tony said. But I wouldn't go hunting for alien DNA just yet. We still don't fully understand how the Omnitrix interfaces with your genetics. The lab doors slid open as Peter Parker strolled in, backpack slung over one shoulder. Hey! School's out and Aunt May thinks I'm at Stark internship, so who wants to go patrolling? Pass, Tony said immediately. Some of us have actual work to do. I'm in. Ben jumped up, glad for any excuse to escape more training or lab tests. I've been cooped up in this tower all week. Whoa, hold up, Tony interrupted. Fury was clear about keeping you under wraps until we understand your situation better. Oh come on. Ben protested. I helped stop those Hydra guys, didn't I? Besides, nobody will recognize me if I'm transformed. Tony and Bruce exchanged looks. He has a point, Bruce conceded. Fine, Tony sighed. But stay with Spider-Boy, Spider-Man, Peter corrected. And try not to level any city blocks. New York has a limited reconstruction budget. Yes. Ben pumped his fist. Finally, some action. Don't make me regret this, Tony called after them as they headed for the elevator. And be back by dinner. Cap's cooking his Depression-era meatloaf. 20 minutes later, Ben and Peter stood on a rooftop in Queens, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the neighborhood. Home sweet home, Peter said, gesturing to the burrow spread out below them. Not as fancy as Avengers Tower, but it's got character. I like it, Ben replied honestly. Reminds me more of my Bellwood than Manhattan does. Peter pulled his mask on. So, what's the alien du jour? Something stealthy might be good for patrol. Ben twisted the Omnitrix dial, cycling through his options. How about XLR-8? Super speed, always a crowd pleaser. With a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a blue and black velociraptor-like alien with wheels for feet and a helmet-like head with a visor. XLR-8, he announced in a raspy voice. Race you to that water tower. Before Spider-Man could respond, XLR-8 took off in a blur, racing across rooftops at supersonic speed. Peter laughed and swung after him, web lines barely keeping pace with the speedster. No fair. Peter called out. Some of us are limited by physics. XLR-8 skidded to a stop atop the water tower, crossing his arms smugly as Spider-Man landed beside him. Too slow, webhead. Show off, Peter grumbled good-naturedly. So what's the fastest you can go with that form? Never really tested the upper limits, XLR-8 admitted. Fast enough to create sonic booms, slow down perception so everything else seems frozen, the usual speedster package. Man, having 70 different power sets must be insane. How do you keep track of them all? XLR-8 tapped his head. Practice. Though I do still forget sometimes and transform into the wrong alien. Hit the dial wanting Humongosaur, get Goop instead. Goop? Basically living slime. Surprisingly useful. Their conversation was interrupted by police sirens several blocks away. Spider-Man immediately perked up, head tilted as his enhanced senses processed the distant sounds. Armed robbery at First National Bank, he reported. 3 suspects, hostage situation. XLR-8's visor slid up, revealing his alien face. How can you possibly know all that from sirens? Police scanner app, Peter said, tapping his ear. Built it into the mask. Tony helped with the coding. Less impressive then. Super hearing, but okay. Let's go. They raced toward the bank, XLR-8 keeping pace with Spider-Man swinging. As they approached, they could see police creating a perimeter around the building while officers with megaphones tried to negotiate. What's the plan? XLR-8 asked. I usually go with the direct approach, Spider-Man replied, perching on a lamppost to survey the scene. But with hostages, we need to be careful. XLR-8 studied the building. I can get in and disarm them before they even know what's happening. And if they have trigger fingers? One panicked shot in, right, XLR-8 conceded. Bad idea. I'll create a distraction at the front, Spider-Man suggested. While they're focused on me, you zip in through the back and safely evacuate the hostages. That, actually makes sense. Don't sound so surprised. I've been doing this for years too, you know. XLR-8 nodded. Let's do it. Spider-Man swung down to street level, landing in clear view of the bank's glass doors. Inside, masked robbers could be seen holding guns on terrified customers. Hey bank robbers! Spider-Man called out, waving his arms. Didn't you get the memo? Bank robberies are so last season. All the cool criminals are into cryptocurrency scams now. As expected, the robbers' attention immediately focused on the colorful hero outside. While they were distracted, XLR-8 zipped to the back of the building, vibrating through a wall at super speed, a trick he'd learned from Flash comics in his universe. Inside, he found himself in a break room. Moving at hyperspeed, he navigated to the main floor where Spider-Man was still visible through the front doors, continuing his distraction. And another thing about bank robberies, the risk-reward ratio is terrible. Have you considered a career in fast food? Less jail time, similar pay. Time seemed almost frozen to XLR-8 as he moved among the hostages. One by one, he grabbed them and carried them to safety outside the police perimeter, moving so quickly that the robbers didn't even notice their hostages vanishing. When the last civilian was safe, XLR-8 turned his attention to the robbers themselves. In 3 blur-quick movements, he disarmed all 3, webbing their weapons to the ceiling with borrowed web shooters Peter had lent him, just in case. As XLR-8 slowed down to normal speed, the robbers finally realized what had happened. "What the?" one began, staring at his empty hands. "I believe the phrase you're looking for is, 'We surrender,'" XLR-8 suggested, skidding to a stop beside them. The bank robbers looked from the strange alien to Spider-Man, who was now strolling casually through the front door. "Nice work, Speed Demon," Spider-Man called out. "Looks like these guys are." "Don't say it," XLR-8 groaned. "All out of time." "You had to say it." The police stormed in to arrest the dumbfounded criminals as XLR-8 and Spider-Man made their exit through the back. "That was awesome," Peter exclaimed once they were back on a rooftop. "We make a pretty good team." The Omnitrix symbol on XLR-8's chest beeped red before timing out, transforming him back to Ben. "Yeah, we do. That was way easier than most of the hero work I do back home." "Really? What kind of stuff do you deal with?" "Oh, you know, interdimensional conquerors, genetic predators that want to eat the Omnitrix, evil versions of myself from alternate timelines, the usual." Peter stared at him. "And I thought my rogues gallery was weird." Ben laughed, the tension of the past week finally easing. For the first time since arriving in this universe, he felt like himself again. Not a science experiment, not a potential threat, just a hero doing what he did best. "So what else is on the superhero agenda today?" he asked. "Well, we could," Peter's phone buzzed, interrupting him. He checked the screen and frowned. "Huh. That's weird." "What is it?" "Alert from one of Mr. Stark's monitoring programs. There's some kind of energy disturbance near Westchester County." Peter looked up. "That's mutant territory." "Mutants? Like the X-Men?" Ben couldn't hide his excitement. "They're real too." "Very real, and not always thrilled about visitors," Peter warned. "We should probably call this in." Ben was already twisting the Omnitrix dial. "Or we could check it out ourselves." "Come on, aren't you curious?" "The last time I got curious about X-Men business, I nearly got skewered by Wolverine," Peter protested. "Who you absolutely have to introduce me to," Ben said firmly. "Come on, we'll just take a look. If it's serious, we'll call the Avengers." Peter hesitated, then sighed. "Fine. But if Cyclops laser eyes me, I'm blaming you." "Deal." Ben slapped down on the Omnitrix, transforming into a red manta ray-like alien. "Jetray. Grab on." "Wait, what?" Peter yelped as Jetray scooped him up and took flight, soaring high above the city. "Whoa. A little warning next time. Where's the fun in that?" Jetray laughed, his nasally voice barely audible over the wind. They flew north, leaving the sprawl of the city behind as suburbs gave way to more wooded areas. Peter directed them using the tracking app on his phone, guiding Jetray toward the energy signature. "There." Peter pointed to a clearing ahead where strange lights flickered between the trees. "Set down behind that ridge. Stealthy approach, remember." Jetray landed among the trees, setting Spider-Man down before transforming back to Ben. They crept forward to the ridge overlooking the clearing, peering over cautiously. What they saw made both teens duck back down immediately. "Is that who I think it is?" Ben whispered. "Juggernaut," Peter confirmed grimly. "And Mystique." This just got a lot more complicated. In the clearing below, the massive Juggernaut was testing what appeared to be an enhanced version of the dimensional device they'd encountered during the Hydra attack. Mystique, in her natural blue-skinned form, monitored readings on a portable console. "The power levels are holding," she reported. But we need more test subjects. Why can't we just use these? Juggernaut grumbled, gesturing to several unconscious figures bound nearby, civilians, by the look of them. Because Doom was specific. We need enhanced subjects to properly calibrate the device. Mystique's yellow eyes narrowed. The energy signatures from normal humans aren't strong enough. Ben and Peter exchanged alarmed looks. Did she just say Doom? Ben whispered. As in Dr. Doom? The one and only, Peter replied. Supervillain extraordinaire and dictator of Latveria. I've read about him in the comics. This is bad. Very bad. We should definitely call for backup. Peter reached for his communicator. Before he could activate it, a twig snapped behind them. They whirled to find a man. Standing there, short, muscular, with wild hair and a distinctly unimpressed expression. Well, Wolverine growled, metal claws extending from his knuckles with a distinctive snicked. What have we got here? A spider and something new. Ben's hand hovered over the Omnitrix. Wolverine. Cool. I'm actually a big fan. Save it, kid. You're trespassing on private property. Logan's nostrils flared as he sniffed the air. And you smell wrong. Not human, not mutant. It's complicated, Spider-Man interjected. Listen, we followed an energy signature here and found Juggernaut and Mystique with some kind of dimensional tech. They mentioned Doom. Wolverine's eyes narrowed further, but before he could respond, a smooth voice spoke in all their heads simultaneously. Logan, bring our visitors to me. They are not enemies. Ben flinched at the telepathic intrusion. Whoa. Is that, Professor X? Peter confirmed. Looks like we've got an invitation. Wolverine retracted his claws with a grunt. Follow me. And don't try anything stupid. He looked directly at Ben. Especially you, whatever you are. Human, actually, Ben corrected. Just, with alien powers. That's supposed to make me feel better. They followed Wolverine through the woods, eventually emerging near the impressive Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Ben tried not to geek out as they approached the mansion, but it was hard. The X-Men had been some of his favorite comics growing up. Inside, they were led to Professor Xavier's office, where the telepathic founder of the X-Men waited behind his desk. Storm and Cyclops stood nearby, regarding the newcomers with cautious interest. Welcome to my school, Mr. Parker, Xavier greeted, then turned to Ben. And you must be Benjamin Tennyson. Tony Stark mentioned you might be visiting our universe. You've talked to Tony? Peter asked, surprised. We keep in touch on matters of mutual interest, Xavier replied cryptically. Such as dimensional anomalies and visitors from other realities. Ben stepped forward. Then you know about the device Juggernaut and Mystique are testing? They mentioned someone named Doom. Xavier's expression darkened. Yes. Victor Von Doom has taken a sudden interest in dimensional technology. When we detected unusual energy readings nearby, I sent Logan to investigate. And found these two playing spy, Wolverine added gruffly. We need to stop whatever they're doing, Ben insisted. In my universe, messing with dimensional tech usually leads to really bad things. Agreed, Xavier nodded. Scott, assemble a team. Storm, contact the Avengers. Wait, Ben interrupted. Let me help. This might be connected to how I got here. Xavier studied Ben thoughtfully. The device on your wrist, it contains extraordinary power. The Omnitrix, Ben confirmed. It lets me transform into different aliens. Show them, Peter encouraged. Ben nodded, activating the Omnitrix and selecting an alien. With a flash of green light, he transformed into a crystalline being with diamond-like skin. Diamondhead, he announced, his deep voice resonating in the office. The X-Men tensed, but Xavier raised a hand to calm them. Fascinating. Your DNA completely restructures itself. And you control this transformation? Cyclops asked, clearly concerned about the potential threat. Completely, Diamondhead assured him, then hesitated. Well, mostly. Sometimes the Omnitrix has a mind of its own. Comforting, Wolverine muttered. An alarm blared through the mansion, cutting the conversation short. Storm checked a monitor on the wall. The energy signature just spiked, she reported. They're activating the device. X-Men, move out, Cyclops ordered. Spider-Man, you're with us. And. He looked uncertainly at Diamondhead. Ben, Diamondhead supplied. Or Diamondhead at the moment. And I'm definitely coming. Minutes later, a strike team consisting of Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Spider-Man, and Diamondhead approached the clearing. The dimensional device was now fully active, a swirling vortex of energy expanding above it. That doesn't look stable, Diamondhead observed. Storm, contain the energy field, Cyclops commanded. Wolverine, Colossus, take Juggernaut. Spider-Man, Diamondhead, secure the device and any civilians. I'll handle Mystique. Been a while since I've had a rematch with the Juggernaut, Wolverine grinned fiercely. Storm's eyes glowed white as she summoned powerful winds to encircle the dimensional vortex, attempting to contain its expansion. Cyclops fired an optic blast at Mystique, who dodged with inhuman agility. Now! Cyclops shouted. The team burst into the clearing. Juggernaut roared in challenge as Wolverine and Colossus charged him from opposite sides. Spider-Man swung toward the device while Diamondhead headed for the unconscious civilians. Stop them. Mystique commanded, shifting her form to mimic Cyclops before firing a false optic blast at Storm. Diamondhead reached the captives, using crystalline blades formed from his hands to cut their restraints. Get to safety, he urged, helping a disoriented woman to her feet. Ben. The device. Spider-Man called out, dodging energy bursts from the machine. It's overloading. Diamondhead turned to see the vortex growing more unstable, its edges crackling with dangerous energy. Storm's winds were barely containing it as the pull grew stronger, uprooting small trees and drawing debris into its maw. We need to shut it down. Diamondhead called back, rushing toward the device. His crystalline body withstood the pull better than the others, allowing him to approach. Juggernaut, meanwhile, had grabbed Wolverine and was using him as a club against Colossus. No one stops the Juggernaut. That line never gets old, Spider-Man quipped, webbing Mystique's feet to the ground as she tried to interfere with Storm. Diamondhead reached the device, studying the controls. Unlike the Hydra version, this one had Latverian markings, Doom's personal touch. The configuration was different, more sophisticated. I can't figure out how to shut it down, he called to Cyclops. It's locked. Then destroy it. Cyclops replied, ducking under Mystique's kick. If we destroy it while active, the feedback could be catastrophic. Diamondhead protested. The vortex suddenly pulsed, expanding dramatically. Storm cried out as her winds were overcome, the pull now strong enough to drag her toward the portal. Storm! Cyclops shouted, firing a blast to destroy the ground beneath her, dropping her out of the vortex's direct path. This is getting out of hand. Spider-Man swung in a wide arc, grabbing Diamondhead. We need a new plan. The Omnitrix symbol on Diamondhead's chest began blinking. Oh no, not now. In a flash of green light, Ben returned to human form, immediately feeling the vortex's pull. Spider-Man's grip on him tightened as they were both dragged toward the portal. Hold on. Peter yelled, his web straining against a tree trunk. The Omnitrix needs to recharge. Ben shouted back. I need time. Below them, Wolverine had managed to break free from Juggernaut's grip and was now slashing at the behemoth's armor, creating sparks but little damage. Colossus landed a massive punch that barely staggered the villain. Little busy here, kid. Wolverine growled. The vortex pulsed again, this time with a sound like thunder. Through the swirling energy, Ben glimpsed something on the other side, a laboratory, and a figure in a metal mask watching with interest. Doom. Ben realized. He's using the portal to observe us. As if in response, the figure raised a hand. The vortex suddenly contracted, then expanded with explosive force. The shock wave knocked everyone back, breaking Spider-Man's web and sending both teens flying. Ben tumbled across the ground, the wind knocked out of him. As he gasped for breath, he saw the Omnitrix glowing not green but a strange purplish color he'd never seen before. "What the?" he muttered, tapping the device. The Omnitrix responded with a mechanical voice he recognized as Asmitha's creation. Unknown DNA signature detected. Sample acquired. Sample? From where? Ben looked up at the vortex, now beginning to collapse in on itself. Spider-Man appeared at his side, mask torn to reveal a bloody gash on his cheek. "Ben. You okay?" "The Omnitrix just sampled something." Ben replied, struggling to his feet. "It's never done that automatically before." Across the clearing, Juggernaut had grabbed the device and was retreating with Mystique. Cyclops and the other X-Men were regrouping, looking battered but determined. "They're getting away with the tech." Spider-Man pointed. "Not if I can help it," Ben said, looking at the now green Omnitrix. "Let's try something new." He slammed down on the dial without selecting a specific alien. Green light enveloped him, but something felt different this time. The transformation energy seemed to pulse with that same purplish tint from before. When the light faded, Ben had transformed into an alien he'd never used before. His body was humanoid but covered in a metallic, silver substance that shifted and flowed like liquid. His eyes glowed with energy, and the Omnitrix symbol sat prominently on his chest. "Whoa!" the new alien exclaimed in a voice that seemed to reverberate metallically. "What am I?" "You look like you're made of living metal," Spider-Man observed. "Like a cross between Colossus and Mercury." The new alien flexed his arms, feeling the strange substance of his body respond. "I feel adaptable. Fluid but strong." He looked at Juggernaut retreating with the device. "Let's test it out." With an instinctive gesture, the alien extended his arm, which stretched like liquid metal, wrapping around a tree trunk and catapulting him forward. "I'll call this one Mercurial," he shouted as he rocketed toward Juggernaut. Wolverine, seeing the new alien fly overhead, barked, "Kid! Don't engage Juggernaut alone." But Mercurial was already on a collision course. As he approached, his body seemed to instinctively know what to do. He liquefied completely just before impact, enveloping Juggernaut's helmet and solidifying over the ice slits. "Hey! What the?" Juggernaut roared, dropping the device to claw at his now blinded helmet. "Surprise!" Mercurial's voice came from the metal now coating Juggernaut's head. "New power, who dis?" Mystique moved to retrieve the device, but Spider-Man webbed it away. "I'll take that, thank you." Juggernaut, in blind rage, began smashing into trees and spinning wildly. "Get it off! Get it off! Wow, you really can't stop once you get going, can you?" Mercurial taunted, maintaining his liquid metal form over Juggernaut's eyes while the behemoth crashed through the forest. Cyclops arrived, optic beams ready. "Whatever you are, move clear. I'm going to take him down." Mercurial detached from Juggernaut's helmet, reforming his humanoid shape nearby. "He's all yours." Cyclops unleashed a full-power optic blast that hit Juggernaut square in the chest, driving him back through several trees and into a hillside. The impact was enough to stun even the unstoppable force. Meanwhile, Storm and Wolverine had cornered Mystique, who morphed into Storm's form in an attempt to confuse them. "Nice try," Wolverine growled. "But you still smell the same." Before they could capture her, Mystique threw down a smoke bomb. By the time it cleared, she had vanished. Typical, Wolverine muttered. Spider-Man approached with the device, now inactive. Got it. Though I'm pretty sure Mystique transmitted all the data they needed before we showed up. Mercurial rejoined the group, still marveling at his new form. This is incredible. I've never had this transformation before. What exactly are you? Cyclops asked warily. I think the Omnitrix sampled mutant DNA, Mercurial replied, studying his liquid metal hands. When the vortex opened, it must have detected a new genetic template. That's impossible, Storm stated. Mutant abilities are not transmitted genetically in that manner. The Omnitrix doesn't just copy genetics, Mercurial explained. It samples, adapts, and sometimes combines DNA to create optimal forms. This must be its interpretation of whatever mutant gene it encountered. Wolverine sniffed the air around Mercurial. He smells like mercury. That kid with the liquid metal powers from the Massachusetts Academy. Emma Frost's student. Cyclops looked surprised. How would his DNA have come through a dimensional portal? Before they could discuss further, the Omnitrix symbol began blinking red. Moments later, Ben was back in human form, looking exhilarated. That was awesome. A brand new alien, just like Dr. Banner predicted. We should get this device back to the mansion, Cyclops decided. And contact Stark. If Doom is working with the Brotherhood of Mutants to develop dimensional technology. It can't be good, Spider-Man finished. As they headed back, Ben kept staring at the Omnitrix, which now displayed a new silhouette in its transformation roster. The Omnitrix is adapting to this universe, he said quietly to Peter. What if it keeps adding new transformations? What if it can somehow sample powers from other heroes or villains here? That would make you potentially the most powerful person in either universe, Peter replied, sounding both awed and concerned. Or the most dangerous, Ben added, suddenly understanding why Nick Fury had been so wary of him. Back at Xavier's mansion, the device was secured in a shielded laboratory while Xavier and Cyclops debriefed the team. Tony Stark arrived shortly after, having flown directly from New York in his Iron Man armor. So, Tony said, examining the device. Doom's making dimensional tech and working with the Brotherhood. That's a nightmare combo if I ever saw one. The question is why, Xavier mused. Victor rarely allies himself with those he considers beneath him, and he's made his opinions of mutants quite clear in the past. He wants the Omnitrix, Ben stated flatly. Everyone turned to look at him. That's the only explanation. He saw me arrive, he's been studying the energy signature, and now he's trying to replicate the technology. The kid could be right, Tony admitted. Doom's always had a thing for collecting powerful artifacts. But what would he want with transformation abilities? Storm wondered. He already possesses both technological and mystical power. Control, Xavier suggested. The ability to become anyone or anything would give him unprecedented infiltration capabilities. Or he could use it to create an army, Cyclops added grimly. Imagine soldiers who could transform into living weapons at will. The implications hung heavy in the air. Ben looked down at the Omnitrix, feeling a weight of responsibility even greater than usual. In his universe, there were safeguards, Azimuth, the plumbers, even his own experience dealing with those who coveted the device. Here, he was on his own. I shouldn't have come on patrol, Ben said finally. Fury was right, I should have stayed hidden until we figured out how to get me home. Or maybe this was inevitable, Tony countered. Doom has resources everywhere. If he detected your arrival, he would have come for the Omnitrix eventually, hidden or not. Which means we need to prepare, Xavier concluded. Both for Doom's next move and for getting Ben back to his own universe. I might have something that could help with that, Tony said. Been working on a prototype based on the energy signature from Ben's arrival. Not powerful enough for a full dimensional crossing yet, but it might be able to send a message through. Ben perked up. A message? Like to my universe? Theoretically. A quantum entanglement pulse tuned to your specific dimensional frequency. If someone on the other side is looking for you, it might give them a direction to search. Grandpa Max and Gwen would definitely be looking, Ben said, hope rising in his chest. This could work. Don't get too excited, Tony cautioned. It's still experimental tech. And if it works, it might also alert Doom to exactly what we're doing. A risk we may have to take, Xavier said. In the meantime, perhaps it would be beneficial for Ben to learn more about controlling his new transformation. I can help with that, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see a teenage girl with red hair standing in the doorway. I'm Jean Grey. Professor Xavier thought my telekinetic abilities might be useful in training someone with fluid powers. Ben tried not to visibly fanboy at meeting the future Phoenix. That would be amazing. Thanks. We should head back to the tower, Tony decided. Fury's probably already having kittens about you two going AWOL. Before you go, Xavier said, I'd like to offer the resources of the X-Men in this matter. If Doom is working with the Brotherhood, this concerns us as well. Appreciated, Charles, Tony nodded. We might need all the help we can get. As they prepared to leave, Jean approached Ben. The professor mentioned you're from another universe. One where we exist as fictional characters. Yeah, Ben admitted. The X-Men are pretty legendary where I come from. Jean smiled. And what am I like in these stories? Ben hesitated, thinking about the Phoenix Saga and all that would happen to Jean in the comics. You're one of the strongest. A real hero. That's diplomatically vague, Jean laughed. But I'll take it. Here. She handed him a communicator. If you want to train with that new form, call me. The professor thinks it could be helpful for both of us. Thanks, Ben pocketed the communicator. I will. Outside, Tony's armor reassembled around him. Alright, let's get moving before more bad guys show up. I've had enough excitement for one day. What about Juggernaut? Spider-Man asked. X-Men problem, Tony replied dismissively. They've been dealing with that walking wrecking ball for years. They said their goodbyes, with Cyclops promising to share any intelligence on Doom's operations. As Iron Man prepared to fly Ben back to the tower, Spider-Man opted to hitch a ride as well. One thing I don't get, Peter said as they soared above Westchester County. If the Omnitrix can sample mutant powers, what else might it be able to copy in this universe? That's what worries me, Tony replied, his voice mechanical through the suit speakers. We've got gods, monsters, and science experiments gone wrong running around. If that watch starts sampling Thor or Hulk. Or your armor technology, Ben pointed out. Exactly. Which is why we're keeping this development between us for now. No need to give Fury another reason to lock you in a shield vault. Ben nodded, though the excitement of a new transformation still bubbled within him. Mercurial's powers had felt amazing, different from anything in his existing roster. And the possibility of more new forms. The hero-loving part of him couldn't help but be thrilled. Back at Avengers Tower, they found Steve and Natasha waiting with stern expressions. I thought we agreed no unauthorized excursions, Steve said, arms crossed. Technically, you agreed, Ben pointed out. I just didn't argue. Cut the sass, kid, Natasha warned. Friday told us about the energy spike. You could have walked into a trap. Instead, we walked into an X-Men situation, Tony interjected, his armor disassembling. And made some interesting discoveries. Ben's watch can apparently sample mutant powers. That got their attention. Steve's stern expression shifted to concern, while Natasha's eyes narrowed calculatingly. Show them, Peter encouraged. Ben activated the Omnitrix, finding the new silhouette and transforming into Mercurial once more. The liquid metal body gleamed under the tower's lights as he demonstrated by morphing his arm into a blade, then back. That's concerning, Steve said finally. Fascinating, you mean, Tony corrected. Imagine the research possibilities. Or the security risks, Natasha countered. If the Omnitrix can sample mutant abilities, what's to stop it from sampling any enhanced individual? Or extraterrestrial visitors like Thor? Mercurial shifted uncomfortably. It's not like I'm going around trying to steal people's powers. The Omnitrix did this automatically. Which is exactly the problem, Steve pointed out. You don't control when or what it samples. The Omnitrix timed out, returning Ben to human form. Look, I get it. This makes everyone nervous. But I've been dealing with the Omnitrix for years. I know how to handle it. In your universe, Natasha reminded him. This is different territory. Before the argument could continue, Friday's voice interrupted. Boss, there's a priority transmission coming in from Latveria. Dr. Doom is requesting to speak with you. The room fell silent. Well, that's convenient timing, Tony muttered. Put him through, audio only. I prefer a more personal touch, Stark, came a deep, accented voice as a holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. The armored and cloaked figure of Victor Von Doom stood before them, his metal mask betraying no emotion. Doom, Tony acknowledged coolly. To what do we owe the displeasure? Spare me your wit, Doom replied. I wish to speak with your dimensional visitor. All eyes turned to Ben, who stepped forward cautiously. I'm Ben Tennyson. Doom's masked face seemed to study him. The bearer of the Omnitrix. Your arrival in our universe has not gone unnoticed, young man. So I gathered from your little experiment today, Ben replied, trying to sound braver than he felt. Working with the Brotherhood now, Doom. Seems beneath you. Mere pawns in a greater game, Doom dismissed. I have a proposition for you, Benjamin. One that could benefit us both. Not interested, Ben said immediately. You haven't heard my offer. Doom's voice remained calm. I possess technology that could return you to your dimension. Your home, your family, all within reach. That gave Ben pause, despite himself. In exchange for what? Tony interrupted suspiciously. An exchange of knowledge, Doom replied. I merely wish to study the Omnitrix. Its principles could advance Latverian science by decades. Yeah, right, Ben scoffed. You want to copy it for yourself. A crude assumption, but not unexpected from one so young. Doom's tone held a hint of amusement. Consider my offer, Benjamin. I will give you 3 days. After that, well, I cannot guarantee the path home will remain open. The hologram flickered out before anyone could respond. Well, that was ominous, Peter remarked. And complete bull, Tony added. Doom doesn't help people out of the goodness of his heart. He wants the Omnitrix, plain and simple. But what if he really can send me home? Ben couldn't help asking. What if that's my only shot? It's not, Tony assured him. The prototype I mentioned at Xavier's is already showing promise. Bruce and I can have it ready for testing in a few days. A few days might be all Doom needs to figure out how to take the Omnitrix by force, Natasha pointed out. His offer feels like a stalling tactic. Or a trap, Steve agreed. Either way, we need to accelerate our efforts. Tony, you and Bruce focus on the dimensional communicator. Natasha and I will coordinate with the X-Men and S.H.I.E.L.D. to monitor Doom's activities. What about me? Ben asked. Steve considered him for a moment. You need to be prepared. If Doom comes for the Omnitrix, we need to know everything it can do in this universe. Meaning? Training, Natasha said with a small, dangerous smile. Lots of training. The following days passed in a blur of activity. True to her word, Natasha put Ben through rigorous combat scenarios, testing his various alien forms against simulated threats. Steve focused on strategy, helping Ben think beyond just powering through problems. Between training sessions, Ben spent time in the lab with Tony and Bruce, providing data on the Omnitrix for their dimensional communicator. The device was taking shape, a ring of quantum accelerators surrounding a central platform, designed to create a pinpoint breach just stable enough to transmit information. If this works, Bruce explained as they made final adjustments, it should be like sending a quantum telegram to your universe. Just enough data to provide coordinates for your grandfather to lock onto. And if it doesn't work? Ben asked. Tony and Bruce exchanged looks. Worst case. A small quantum implosion, Tony admitted. But the containment field should prevent any real damage. Should? Ben raised an eyebrow. Science is about calculated risks, Bruce shrugged. We've calculated this one pretty thoroughly. In his limited free time, Ben trained with Jean Grey, who had visited the tower twice to help him master the mercurial form. The liquid metal alien proved incredibly versatile, able to shape-shift, absorb impacts, and even conduct electricity in ways Ben hadn't initially realized. Your consciousness controls the molecular structure, Jean explained during one session, using her telekinesis to help Ben maintain complex shapes. It's similar to how I focus my telekinesis. Intent and visualization. By the end of the third day, Ben had made significant progress with all his forms, particularly mercurial. The Omnitrix hadn't sampled any new DNA, though not for lack of opportunity. Ben had been around various Avengers constantly. Maybe it was a one-time thing, he suggested to Peter as they relaxed in the tower's common area that evening. The mutant DNA might have been special somehow. Or maybe the watch is pickier than we thought, Peter replied, flipping through channels on the massive TV. Only sampling when it detects something truly unique. Doom's deadline is tonight, Ben noted, checking the time. Think he'll actually do something? Doom always does something, came Nick Fury's voice as the S.H.I.E.L.D. director strode into the room, his long coat swishing dramatically. That's why we've been monitoring all Latverian communications and movements. Director, Ben acknowledged, sitting up straighter. Tennyson. Parker. Fury nodded to each of them. Where's Stark? We need to talk. Lab, Peter pointed. Working on the dimension thingy. Fury headed toward the elevator, gesturing for them to follow. You too. This concerns everyone. In the lab, they found Tony and Bruce making final adjustments to the dimensional communicator. The circular device hummed with energy, holographic displays showing complex calculations. Fury. Just in time for the light show, Tony greeted without looking up from his work. We're almost ready for the first test. That'll have to wait, Fury stated. We've detected unusual energy signatures at 4 locations around New York. Same pattern as the device the X-Men intercepted. That got everyone's attention. Bruce pulled up a map display while Tony interfaced with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s data. For identical signatures, Tony confirmed, frowning at the readout. Central Park, Empire State Building, Liberty Island, and, right outside this tower. It's a perimeter, Bruce realized. If activated simultaneously, they'd create a dimensional field encompassing most of Manhattan, Tony finished. Doom's not trying to open a single portal. He's trying to shift the entire island into another dimension, Fury stated grimly. Ben's eyes widened. Or merge dimensions. That's what happened in my universe once, 2 dimensions partially merged, causing chaos in both. We need teams at all 4 locations immediately, Steve said, having joined them from the training room. Neutralize the devices before they can activate. Already coordinating with the X-Men, Fury replied. Cyclops is taking a team to Central Park. Fantastic Four just returned from their space mission and are heading to Liberty Island. S.H.I.E.L.D. has a team at the Empire State Building. Which leaves us with the one outside, Tony concluded, his armor already assembling around him. Convenient. Too convenient, Natasha noted, checking her weapons. It's obviously a trap. Trap or not, we need to disable that device, Steve said. Avengers, assemble. As the team prepared for battle, Ben activated the Omnitrix. I should transform before we head out there. Wait, Bruce cautioned. If Doom is specifically targeting the Omnitrix, maybe a full transformation isn't the best opening move. Keep it in reserve, let him show his hand first. Ben hesitated, then nodded. Good point. Minutes later, the Avengers emerged from the tower to find a small device planted in the plaza outside. It looked similar to the one from the X-Men encounter but more refined, Latvian craftsmanship evident in its sleek design. I don't see any of Doom's forces, Hawkeye reported from his vantage point on a nearby roof. Area looks clear. Too clear, Black Widow agreed, scanning for threats. Doom doesn't leave his tech unguarded. Iron Man hovered above, running scans. The device is active but not yet initiated. Similar design to what we've seen before, but more sophisticated. Definitely Doom's personal touch. Can you disable it? Captain America asked. Probably, but I would advise against tampering with my property, Stark, boomed a voice from above. All heads turned to see Dr. Doom hovering 20 feet in the air, his green cloak billowing dramatically around his armored form. Doom, Iron Man acknowledged, repulsors humming as they charged. Nice of you to deliver your Doomsday device in person. This is merely a demonstration, Doom replied, his masked face revealing nothing. A preview of possibilities. Ben stepped forward. Your deadline isn't until midnight. Why jump the gun? Doom's attention shifted to Ben. Ah, young Mr. Tennyson. I grew impatient waiting for your answer, which I took as a refusal. A pity. My offer was genuine. Somehow I doubt that, Ben replied. Your mistrust is understandable, if misplaced, Doom said. I merely wish to study the Omnitrix. Its dimensional properties could benefit both our worlds. Not happening, Ben stated firmly. Whatever you're planning with these devices, we're shutting it down. Doom sighed theatrically. I had hoped for cooperation, but I came prepared for resistance. He raised a gauntlet hand. Behold the future of Latvian science. Energy crackled around his armor, coalescing into a familiar green light. Before the shocked Avengers could react, Doom's form began to change, his armored body growing and shifting until he stood twice his original height, his metal skin replaced by red, rock-like plates. What the hell? Hawkeye exclaimed. The transformed Doom roared, his voice deeper but still carrying his aristocratic accent. The power of transformation, replicated through Latvian ingenuity. I may not have the Omnitrix itself, but its secrets are already mine. Ben stared in disbelief. He copied 4 arms. But how? The data from the Brotherhood's device, Bruce realized. They weren't just testing dimensional tech, they were scanning your transformations. The Doom 4 arms charged forward with surprising speed, all 4 massive arms swinging toward Captain America, who barely raised his shield in time. The impact sent him flying backward into a parked car. Avengers, take him down. Iron Man called, firing repulsor blasts that the transformed villain shrugged off. Your turn, kid, Natasha said to Ben as she fired her stingers at Doom. Fight fire with fire. Ben nodded, activating the Omnitrix and transforming into his own 4 arms. The 2 red, 4-armed giants faced each other in the plaza, creating a surreal showdown. A pale imitation, Ben's 4 arms growled. Let's see how your copy holds up against the original. They charged simultaneously, 8 arms total colliding in a thunderous impact that shattered nearby windows. Despite having the same form, Doom's movements were less fluid, less practiced, he hadn't had time to master the alien physiology. You lack experience with these powers, 4 arms taunted, landing a solid right hook that staggered Doom. I've had years to perfect them. Perhaps, Doom conceded, blocking the next blow. But I am a fast learner. He demonstrated by executing a complex grapple that Ben often used, nearly catching Four-Arms off guard. Around them, the Avengers engaged Doom's automated sentries that had teleported in during the confusion. Iron Man and Hawkeye provided air support while Black Widow and Captain America fought on the ground. Bruce remained in human form, working with Friday to analyze the dimensional device. "Ben!" Iron Man called out. "Keep him busy. Banner's almost got the device neutralized." "Easier said than done." Four-Arms grunted, caught in a deadlock with his doppelganger. "He's as strong as I am. But not as clever, I wager," Doom replied. "Your transformations are impressive, but limited. Mine are merely the beginning." His form suddenly shifted again, green light enveloping him as he changed from Four-Arms to a familiar crystalline form. "Diamond Head 2. Ben exclaimed. "How many did you copy?" The Doom Diamond Head launched crystal shards that Four-Arms barely dodged. "Enough to make this interesting." Ben needed to adapt quickly. He slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming into Heat Blast, a magma-based alien that could counter Diamond Head's crystals with intense heat. "Let's see how your copied powers handle a little improvisation." Heat Blast called, unleashing streams of fire that turned Doom's crystal projectiles molten before they could form. Doom laughed, seemingly delighted by the challenge. "Magnificent. Your mastery of these forms is impressive." "Indeed." He shifted again, this time into a blue, velociraptor-like speedster, XLR-8. "Oh come on." Heat Blast complained as Doom XLR-8 began circling him at supersonic speed, creating a vacuum that threatened to extinguish his flames. "How many of my aliens did you scan?" "Enough to understand the Omnitrix's potential," Doom XLR-8 replied, his voice distorted by speed. "Though my versions lack the device's elegance. For now." Heat Blast increased his core temperature, creating a heat wave that disrupted Doom's speed run. "That's the difference between us, Doom. You see the Omnitrix as just another weapon. It's so much more than that." Across the plaza, Bruce called out, "Tony. The device is counting down. Whatever it's going to do, it's happening soon. On it." Iron Man disengaged from the sentries, diving toward the dimensional device. Before he could reach it, a blast of energy from Doom knocked him off course. "The demonstration proceeds as planned," Doom announced, returning to his normal armored form. "Behold the future." All four devices across the city activated simultaneously. Energy beams shot skyward, connecting in a geometric pattern high above Manhattan. The air seemed to ripple and distort as reality itself began to fluctuate. "What's happening?" Captain America demanded, deflecting attacks from the remaining sentries. "Dimensional overlay," Bruce explained, checking readings on his tablet. "He's creating a controlled merger between dimensions." Ben transformed back to human form, studying the effect. "This is like what happened in my universe when dimensions started bleeding together. It caused chaos." "Precisely controlled chaos," Doom corrected. "A demonstration of power, not destruction." Above them, the sky split open, revealing glimpses of another reality, one where Latveria appeared to be a global superpower, Doom's banner flying over recognizable landmarks. "An alternate timeline where you rule the world?" Iron Man scoffed. "How original." "A possibility," Doom replied. "One of many I have explored. The dimensional barriers between realities are thin, stark. With the right technology, one could select the most favorable aspects of each. By destroying the dimensional balance." Ben protested. "Trust me, I've seen this before. It never ends well." "Your concern is noted, but unnecessary," Doom stated. "This is merely a demonstration, not the final application." The dimensional rift pulsed, growing more unstable. Buildings nearby began to flicker between states, existing in both realities simultaneously. "Banner!" Captain America called. "How do we stop this?" Before Bruce could answer, Ben stepped forward. I think I know. He activated the Omnitrix, cycling to a form he'd only used a few times before. This is risky, but it might work. Everyone stand back. With a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a white, black, and green alien with a singular green eye in the center of his face. His body seemed to radiate strange energy. Clockwork, he announced in a mechanical, German-accented voice. What the hell is that? Hawkeye asked, loosing arrows at the remaining sentries. Chronosapien, Clockwork explained. Time-based powers, but also, dimensional alignment. Doom studied the new transformation with evident interest. Fascinating. A form I have not yet catalogued. And one you won't get the chance to copy. Clockwork raised his hands toward the dimensional rift. The key-like protrusion on his head began to spin, emitting a green energy field that reached toward the distortion above. What are you doing? Iron Man asked. Trying to realign the dimensional frequency, Clockwork strained, his mechanical voice showing the effort. Stabilize reality. The green energy field expanded, encompassing the plaza and stretching upward to interact with the rift. Where they met, the dimensional distortion began to even out, reality solidifying back to normal. Impossible, Doom breathed. He's countering the entire network with a single power source. The kid's full of surprises. Black Widow remarked, finishing off the last sentry. Clockwork focused harder, the spinning key on his head accelerating. Almost, got it. Doom seemed to make a quick calculation. A temporary setback. He pressed a button on his gauntlet, and the 4 devices across the city deactivated simultaneously. The dimensional rift collapsed, leaving the sky normal once more. Another time, perhaps. Doom rose into the air. You've proven more resourceful than anticipated, Benjamin Tennyson. Our next encounter will be better prepared. Before anyone could stop him, Doom vanished in a flash of light, a teleportation effect leaving nothing behind. Clockwork transformed back to Ben, who immediately slumped to his knees, exhausted. That took more energy than I expected. Captain America helped him up. Good work, son. You saved a lot of people today. We all did, Ben replied. But Doom got away with the data he wanted. He can transform into my aliens now. Not all of them, Tony pointed out, his helmet retracting. And not as effectively as you. Did you see how clumsy he was with 4 arms? Like someone wearing a suit they haven't broken in yet. Still dangerous, Natasha cautioned. And now we know what he's after, the ability to cherry-pick from different dimensions. Bruce approached, tablet in hand. The good news is, I got readings from the dimensional event that might help calibrate our communicator. This could actually accelerate our progress. So something good came out of Doom's demonstration, after all, Tony mused. Ben looked around at the plaza, now returned to normal except for some battle damage. Citizens who had taken cover were cautiously emerging, pointing at the Avengers and taking photos. Is it always like this? He asked. Bad guys with world-changing schemes every other day? Steve chuckled. Pretty much. Welcome to the Avengers world. Back in the tower, the team gathered in the lab where Tony and Bruce immediately applied the new data to their dimensional communicator. The machine hummed with renewed energy, calculations running faster than before. Doom actually did us a favor, Tony admitted grudgingly. The readings from his little stunt gave us the missing variable in our equations. The communicator should be ready for testing tomorrow. That's great. Ben exclaimed. Then he hesitated. But what about Doom? He's still out there with the ability to use my alien forms. Limited versions of them, Bruce corrected. And without the Omnitrix to stabilize the transformations, I suspect they're temporary at best. We'll deal with Doom, Steve assured him. We always do. Fury, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. The priority remains getting Ben back to his universe. The longer he stays, the more opportunities Doom has to study the Omnitrix. Trying to get rid of me, Director? Ben asked with a slight smile. Just being practical, Fury replied, though his expression softened slightly. Though I will say, you've proven yourself useful in a crisis. High praise from Fury, Natasha whispered. He must like you. As the others discussed next steps, Peter pulled Ben aside. So, potentially your last night in our universe. Any bucket list items you want to check off? Meet more heroes? Take selfies with landmarks? Ben considered it. Actually, there is one thing I've been wanting to do. An hour later, Ben and Peter stood atop the Statue of Liberty's crown, looking out over the nighttime harbor. Ben had transformed into Big Chill to fly them there, the moth-like alien's blue form barely visible against the night sky. Now this is a view, Ben remarked, having returned to human form. The Statue of Liberty exists in my universe, but I've never been up here. Perks of having superpowered friends, Peter grinned. Though technically we're not supposed to be up here after hours. Add it to my list of dimensional crimes, Ben joked. Right after, froze a shield jet and fought Dr. Doom. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching boats move through the harbor. You know, Peter said finally, it's been pretty cool having you around. Like having a superhero pen pal from another dimension. Yeah, Ben agreed. Despite the whole, trapped in another universe, thing, it's been amazing. Meeting the Avengers, the X-Men, fighting alongside all of you. Will you tell people about us when you get back? Or would that mess up the whole, we're just comics there thing? Ben laughed. Probably. Though who would believe me? Hey guys, I was in the Marvel Universe and hung out with Spider-Man. Fair point, Peter conceded. Though if the multiverse is infinite, maybe there's a universe where you're the comic book character and I'm real. Now there's a weird thought. Their conversation was interrupted by Peter's phone buzzing. He checked it and stood up quickly. It's Tony. The communicator is ready for testing. They want us back at the tower. Ben took a deep breath, looking out over the city one last time. Guess it's time to find out if I'm going home. Back at the tower, the lab buzzed with activity. The dimensional communicator now dominated the center of the room, energy crackling between its circular arrays. Tony, Bruce, and several assistants made final adjustments while Steve, Natasha, and the other Avengers watched from a safe distance. There you are, Tony called when Ben and Peter entered. Just in time for the maiden voyage of what I'm calling the quantum telegram. Original, Natasha remarked dryly. You try naming everything I invent, Tony retorted. You run out of good ones eventually. Ben approached the device cautiously. So how does this work? Bruce explained, you'll stand on the central platform. The Omnitrix's unique quantum signature will act as a beacon, allowing us to create a pinpoint dimensional breach, too small for physical travel, but large enough to transmit data. Specifically, your dimensional coordinates, Tony added. Think of it like sending up a flare with your exact location. If your grandfather has been looking for you, this should give him a map straight to you. And if it works? Ben asked. Then the next step is building a full portal, Bruce said. But that's significantly more complex. This is just step one. Ben nodded, trying to contain his excitement and anxiety. Let's do it. He stepped onto the platform as instructed. Tony handed him a small device. Hold this against the Omnitrix. It'll help amplify the signal. Ben positioned the device, which hummed in response to proximity with the Omnitrix. Around him, the circular arrays began to spin, energy building between them. Starting quantum alignment, Bruce announced, monitoring readings. Energy levels. Stable. Dimensional frequency locked, Tony confirmed. Initiating breach in 3, 2, 1. The arrays spun faster, energy converging above Ben in a swirling vortex of light. Unlike Doom's chaotic rift, this one was contained, controlled, a perfect circle of energy that pulsed with familiar green light. "It's working!" Bruce exclaimed. "We're getting quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers." Ben felt the Omnitrix grow warm against his wrist, its green light pulsing in sync with the energy vortex. Through the swirling portal, he could almost make out shapes, familiar technology, and what might have been figures moving. "Is that Grandpa Max's lab?" he wondered aloud. "Signal stabilizing," Tony reported. "Data package transmitting, now." The energy vortex intensified, the Omnitrix glowing brighter in response. For a moment, Ben thought he heard voices, familiar voices calling his name. Then, without warning, alarms blared throughout the lab. "Energy spike!" Bruce shouted. "Something's interfering with the signal." The vortex began to destabilize, its edges crackling with disruptive energy. Through the distortion, Ben glimpsed something else, a metallic mask, watching from another dimensional intersection point. Doom, he realized. He's intercepting the signal. "Shut it down," Steve ordered. "Working on it," Tony replied, fingers flying over controls. "He's piggybacking on our dimensional frequency." The vortex expanded suddenly, energy lashing out unpredictably. One arc struck near Peter, who leapt to safety with his spider reflexes. "Ben, get off the platform," Bruce called. But Ben stood his ground, an idea forming. "Wait. I can fix this." He activated the Omnitrix, transforming into feedback, an alien with the ability to absorb and redirect energy. Immediately, feedback began drawing in the chaotic dimensional energy, controlling its flow. "I've got this," he assured them, his single eye narrowed in concentration. "Just need to recalibrate the frequency." The plug-like appendages on feedback's hands and head connected directly to the communicator, creating a closed circuit. The vortex stabilized, its color shifting from unstable purple back to green. "He's actually doing it," Tony marveled. "He's filtering out Doom's interference." Through the now stable portal, the image clarified. Ben could clearly see his grandfather's lab, with Max and Gwen working frantically at controls. They couldn't see him, but he could see them. "The signal's getting through," Bruce confirmed. "Dimensional coordinates transmitting clean." Feedback channeled more power into the connection, strengthening it. For a brief moment, Gwen looked up, almost as if she sensed something. Her eyes widened. "Ben?" Her voice came through faintly, distorted but recognizable. "Gwen." Feedback called back. "Grandpa Max." The connection wavered, Doom's interference pushing back against feedback's control. Ben strained harder, drawing in more energy to maintain the link. "They can hear me," he exclaimed. "Grandpa. I'm in another universe. The Marvel Universe." "Ben." Max's voice came through, breaking up but audible. "We've been looking, signal, lock on. We've got your coordinates." Gwen's voice added. "Hang on. We're coming." The portal pulsed one final time before collapsing, the energy dispersing harmlessly thanks to feedback's absorption. The lab fell silent except for the hum of cooling equipment. Feedback transformed back to Ben, who stood stunned on the platform. "They heard me," he whispered. "They're coming for me." Tony examined the readings, a grin spreading across his face. "And they got the coordinates. Clean transmission for a full 5 seconds before the portal collapsed." "That's enough." "We did it?" Bruce asked, sounding surprised himself. "We did it," Tony confirmed. "Ball's in their court now." The Avengers erupted in celebration. Peter bounded over to high-five Ben, while Steve placed a congratulatory hand on his shoulder. Even Natasha allowed a small smile. "So what happens now?" Ben asked once the excitement died down. "We wait," Bruce explained. If your grandfather has technology comparable to the Omnitrix, he should be able to use our signal to locate this exact dimension among the infinite possibilities. And if Doom tries to interfere again? Steve asked. Tony's expression hardened. Then we'll be ready. Friday's already implementing new security protocols based on the energy signature of his interference. Ben stepped off the platform, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Relief that contact had been made, excitement at the prospect of going home, but also, reluctance. These past days with the Avengers and Spider-Man had been extraordinary. The thought of leaving suddenly felt bittersweet. "Hey," Peter said, noticing his conflicted expression. "You okay?" "Yeah," Ben nodded. "Just, processing everything. I might actually get to go home." "That's good, right?" "Of course. It's just. You'll miss us," Natasha finished for him, surprising everyone with her insight. Dimensional tourist syndrome. It's normal. Ben laughed. "Is that an actual thing?" "It is now," she replied with a rare smile. The celebration moved to the common area, where Tony broke out drinks, non-alcoholic for the minors, and ordered pizza. As the Avengers relaxed, swapping stories of dimensional weirdness they'd encountered before, Ben found a quiet moment to step out onto the balcony. The New York skyline glittered before him, familiar yet alien, a city he knew from comics and movies, now real and tangible. The Omnitrix glowed softly on his wrist, a reminder of home. "Penny for your thoughts," came Steve's voice as the super soldier joined him at the railing. "Just taking it all in," Ben replied. "Not everyone gets to visit the Marvel Universe." Steve chuckled. "And not everyone brings so much excitement when they do. Sorry about that." "Don't be. You've handled yourself well, son. Better than many would in your situation." Ben looked at the Omnitrix. "I've had practice with weird situations." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Steve spoke again. "You know, being a hero isn't about the powers or the tech. It's about making the right choices when it matters most." "That sounds like a Cap speech coming on," Ben teased. "Force of habit," Steve admitted with a smile. "But my point is, you've shown that you understand what the Omnitrix is really for. Not just power, but responsibility. Doom sees it as a weapon to be exploited. You see it as a tool to help people." "I wasn't always that way," Ben confessed. "When I first got the Omnitrix, I was a brat. Used it to show off, play pranks. I had to learn the hard way." "We all do," Steve assured him. "What matters is that you learned." The door slid open as Peter poked his head out. "Hey, you guys are missing Tony's dramatic reenactment of Thor trying to understand dimensional theory." "We'll be right in," Steve replied. As Peter ducked back inside, Ben turned to Steve. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. If my grandpa can't get through, if I'm stuck here, would there be a place for me?" Steve's expression softened. "Ben, there will always be a place for people who want to do good. Whether that's with the Avengers or finding your own path. But don't worry about that just yet. Let's focus on getting you home first." Ben nodded, feeling reassured. Whatever happened, he wasn't alone. Not in this universe or his own. Inside, the celebration continued late into the night, heroes relaxing in rare downtime between crises. Ben joined them, laughing at Tony's impressions and Peter's stories, sharing tales of his own universe's adventures. For a while, at least, the weight of dimensional displacement lifted from his shoulders. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Doom was still out there, plotting his next move. The path home remained uncertain. But tonight, surrounded by Earth's mightiest heroes, Ben Tennyson felt exactly where he was supposed to be, even if it was in the wrong universe. In his castle in Latveria, Dr. Doom reviewed the data his systems had captured during the interference. Partial dimensional coordinates, energy signatures from the Omnitrix, and readings from Stark's device. Not complete, but a start. The boy's universe presents interesting possibilities, he mused to himself, manipulating a holographic display showing fragmented glimpses of Ben's world, alien technology, plumber bases, other Omnitrix wielders. So many new worlds to explore. So many new powers to claim. He turned to where his scientists worked on a larger version of the dimensional device. Accelerate the timeline. Tennyson will not remain in our universe much longer. We must be ready. As his minions rushed to comply, Doom allowed himself a rare smile behind his mask. Whether Ben returned home or not, the dimensional barriers had been weakened. The first step in his grandest plan yet had been taken. A universe of transformation, he whispered. Soon to be mine. Chapter 3, Two Worlds, One Hero. Ben jolted awake to blaring alarms. For a disorienting moment, he thought he was back home in Bellwood, late for school again. Then reality crashed back, he wasn't home. He was in Avengers Tower, dimension-hopping visitor extraordinaire. What's happening? He called out, fumbling for the light. Multiple dimensional breaches detected across Manhattan, Friday's calm Irish accent answered. All Avengers are requested in the command center immediately. Ben checked the time, 4:17 a.m. Less than 6 hours since they'd successfully sent a message to his universe. Coincidence? Not likely. He threw on clothes and raced to the elevator. When the doors opened at the command center, organized chaos greeted him. Tony stood at the main console, still in sweatpants and a tank top, barking orders while holographic displays showed multiple glowing rifts across the city map. Steve and Natasha were already in tactical gear, studying deployment routes. Bruce hovered near a bank of scientific readouts, looking concerned. There you are, Tony called when he spotted Ben. Your dimensional neighbors are knocking. Loudly. Grandpa Max and Gwen? Ben asked hopefully, hurrying over to see the displays. Maybe, Bruce replied, adjusting his glasses. These energy signatures match what we recorded during our transmission, but they're unstable. Multiple breach points forming and collapsing across the city. They're trying to lock onto our coordinates, Ben realized. The transmission must have given them our general location, but they're having trouble pinpointing the exact dimensional frequency. That's not all, Steve added grimly. We're getting reports of Doom's forces at 3 of the breach sites. He's moving fast. Ben's heart sank. He's trying to hijack their attempts, just like he tried with our transmission. Bingo, Tony confirmed. And if he succeeds in establishing a stable connection to your universe before your family does, he could invade my world, Ben finished. Or worse. We won't let that happen, Natasha stated firmly, checking her weapons. Teams are already deploying to secure the breach sites. The elevator doors opened as Peter Parker rushed in, costume half on, mask in hand. I came as soon as I got the alert. What's the? He spotted the dimensional map and whistled. Whoa. That's a lot of holes in reality. And more forming by the minute, Bruce noted. The largest concentration is in Central Park. That seems to be the primary breach attempt. Ben studied the pattern. That's where we need to go. If Grandpa and Gwen are trying to open a portal, that's where they'll break through. It's also where Doom will focus his efforts, Steve pointed out. Then that's where we make our stand, Tony decided. Cap, take Nat and a team to the secondary sites. Keep Doom's forces contained. Spider-Man, you're with me and Ben at Central Park. What about the Hulk? Peter asked, looking at Bruce. Bruce shook his head. Too risky with dimensional instability. One Hulk tantrum could tear the breaches wide open. I'll coordinate from here. Thor's still off-world? Ben asked. Unfortunately, Tony confirmed. But the X-Men are mobilizing to help with perimeter control, and I've got calls into every available enhanced individual in the tri-state area. This is really serious, isn't it? Ben said quietly. Tony's expression softened slightly. Dimensional incursions always are, kid. But hey, we might get you home today. That's the upside. Ben nodded, activating the Omnitrix. Then let's make sure Doom doesn't crash my going away party. 20 minutes later, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Ben, currently transformed into Jet Ray for flight capabilities, approached Central Park. Even from the air, the dimensional disturbance was obvious, a swirling, pulsating dome of energy-covered sheep meadow, reality visibly distorting within its perimeter. That doesn't look stable, Spider-Man commented, swinging alongside them. It's not, Iron Man replied, scanners analyzing the phenomenon. Multiple dimensional frequencies overlapping. Like someone's trying different keys in a lock. Jet Ray swooped lower. That's exactly what Grandpa's doing. The dimensional calibrator needs precise coordinates to form a stable bridge. Well, he'd better hurry, Iron Man noted. We've got company. Below, at the edge of the energy dome, armored troops in Latverian colors had established a perimeter. Advanced scientific equipment was being assembled under the watchful eye of Doom's robotic sentries. Subtle as always, Jet Ray remarked. What's the plan? You and Spidey engage the ground forces, Iron Man instructed. I'll deal with their heavy tech. Priority is keeping Doom away from that dimensional breach until your family stabilizes it. On it. Spider-Man confirmed, diving into a graceful arc that carried him directly into the midst of Doom's soldiers. Knock knock. Anyone order interdimensional pizza? Jet Ray banked sharply, firing neuroshock blasts from his eyes at the scientific equipment. Sorry to crash your dimension crashing party. The Latverian troops scrambled to respond, energy weapons firing wildly at the aerial attackers. Iron Man swooped low, repulsors blasting key components of Doom's machinery. Friday, analyze their tech, Tony commanded inside his helmet. What are they trying to do here? It appears to be a dimensional siphon, boss, Friday reported. Designed to extract energy from unstable rifts and redirect it. He's trying to hijack the portal, Tony realized. Ben. They're setting up to steal control of the breach when it stabilizes. Jet Ray dodged energy blasts, continuing his strafing run. Not happening on my watch. The battle intensified as Doom's elite guards joined the fray. Unlike the regular troops, these warriors wore enhanced armor with integrated energy weapons, a pale imitation of Iron Man's technology. Wow, someone's been cribbing from your homework, Mr. Stark. Spider-Man called out, webbing two guards together before leaping over a barrage of energy bolts. Doom's always been a second-rate copycat, Tony replied, though his tone suggested the plagiarism still rankled. Jet Ray's Omnitrix symbol began flashing red. Guys, I need to change forms. Cover me. On it. Spider-Man swung closer, creating a protective web shield as Jet Ray landed behind cover. The transformation timed out, returning Ben to human form moments before the Omnitrix recharged. He quickly dialed in a new alien, slamming down on the core. Humongosaur. Where Ben had stood was now a 12-foot-tall dinosaur-like alien with incredible strength. He burst from cover, scattering Doom's troops like bowling pins. Whoa! Spider-Man exclaimed. That's aptly named. Humongosaur roared, growing even larger as he activated his size-changing ability. At 20 feet tall, he waded through Doom's forces, smashing equipment with massive fists. This dimensional siphon is officially out of order, he bellowed, crushing the central component beneath his foot. Nearby, Iron Man was systematically disabling the power generators. Almost done on my end. How's the... A massive energy surge interrupted him. The dimensional dome pulsed violently, expanding outward before contracting to half its previous size. The air crackled with power. It's stabilizing. Humongosaur called out. Grandpa must be locking onto the frequency. As if in response, the swirling energy began to coalesce into a more defined shape, a circular portal approximately 30 feet in diameter. Through its fluctuating surface, shadowy forms could be seen moving. "Ben," a familiar voice called from within the portal. "Ben, can you hear me?" "Gwen." Humongousaur shouted back. "I'm here." The portal flickered, then solidified further. The misty barrier clarified enough to reveal a laboratory on the other side, Grandpa Max's secret plumber base beneath Bellwood. Gwen Tennyson stood at a control console, her hands glowing with mana energy that helped stabilize the portal. Max worked frantically at what appeared to be a modified version of the dimensional projector that had started this whole adventure. "Ben!" Max called out, his voice stronger now as the connection improved. "We've almost got a lock on your position. The portal will fully stabilize in approximately 3 minutes. Hurry!" Humongousaur urged. "Doom's forces are trying to hijack the connection." Iron Man flew to hover beside Humongousaur. "Portal's at 60% stability and rising. Your family knows their stuff." "Tennyson," a new voice boomed across the battlefield. All heads turned to see a figure floating above the tree line, Dr. Doom in all his armored, cloaked glory. Energy crackled around his gauntlets as he surveyed the scene with cold disdain. "I must commend your resourcefulness," Doom called down. "Few have evaded Doom's grasp so effectively." "Evaded? I kicked your forearmed butt last time." Humongousaur shot back. "A temporary setback," Doom dismissed. "One that ends today." With a dramatic gesture, Doom unleashed a blast of energy, not at the heroes, but at the stabilizing portal. The dimensional gateway shuddered violently, its edges flaring with disruptive power. "No!" Humongousaur charged toward the portal, but Doom's attack had created a barrier of volatile energy around its perimeter. "Ben!" Gwen's voice came through, distorted but urgent. "Someone's interfering with the connection. We're losing stability." "It's Doom." Ben shouted back. "He's trying to take control of the portal." Iron Man rocketed upward, repulsors firing at Doom. "Not on my watch, Victor." Doom erected a shield, deflecting Tony's attack. "Your technology is impressive, Stark, but insufficient. Today, I claim access to a new universe, one ripe with power beyond your imagination." Spider-Man swung in from Doom's blind side, landing a solid kick before the villain could react. "Sorry to interrupt your megalomaniac monologue, but it's way too early for this much drama." Doom staggered momentarily before recovering. "The insect is brave, if foolish." He raised both hands, green energy swirling around them. Perhaps a reminder of true power is needed. The energy coalesced, transforming Doom once again, this time into a familiar crystalline form. "Great, Diamond Head again," Humongousaur muttered. "Time to switch things up." He slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming in a flash of green light into a red, four-armed alien. "Forearms." Doom laughed. "Your predictability is disappointing, Tennyson." He too transformed, matching Ben with his own forearms form. "Who's predictable now?" Ben taunted, immediately slapping the Omnitrix again to transform into a new alien, a blue, ghost-like being with chains wrapped around his body. "Ghost Freak," the spectral alien hissed, voice echoing eerily. "Let's see you copy this." Doom's Diamond Head form hesitated, clearly surprised by the rapid transformation. Before he could adapt, Ghost Freak turned intangible and flew straight through him, causing the villain to shudder violently as cold energy disrupted his systems. "Fascinating," Doom gasped, staggering backward. "Such versatility." Meanwhile, the portal continued to fluctuate, Gwen's mana energy visibly straining to maintain the connection. "Ben!" Max called through. "We can only hold this open for another 2 minutes before the power cells burn out." Iron Man, hearing this, made a quick decision. "Change of plans. Spider-Man, help Ben hold off Doom. I'll stabilize the portal from our side." He flew to the nearest intact piece of Doom's equipment, a quantum field generator, and began repurposing it. Friday, reroute power through the suit. We need to amplify the stable dimensional frequency. Ghost Freak weaved and dodged as Doom, frustrated with his Diamond Head form's ineffectiveness, transformed again, this time into a crackling, battery-like alien. Buzzshock. Doom announced, apparently having scanned more of Ben's forms than previously revealed. Electricity against a ghost. Let us see which prevails. Arcs of lightning shot toward Ghost Freak, who turned intangible, only to scream in pain as the electricity somehow still affected him. Every form has a weakness, Tennyson. Doom crowed. I have studied your transformations extensively. Ghost Freak retreated, transforming again into a small, frog-like gray alien. Gray matter. The tiny alien immediately leapt onto Spider-Man's shoulder. Quick change of tactics. Whoa! You're tiny. Spider-Man exclaimed, dodging energy blasts from Doom. And smarter in this form, Gray Matter replied. Doom's copied transformations aren't perfect, they lack the Omnitrix's stabilizing influence. Notice how his energy output fluctuates. Spider-Man squinted at Buzzshock Doom, who was indeed flickering slightly. You're right. He's struggling to maintain it. Exactly. If we can force him to overexert, he'll burn through his power reserves. Gray Matter calculated rapidly. I need you to keep him distracted while I help Stark stabilize the portal. Distract the all-powerful dictator with anger issues? Sure, no problem. Spider-Man quipped, though his voice betrayed nervousness. Nevertheless, he swung directly toward Doom. Hey, metal face. Is that a trash can lid on your head, or did you raid a Renaissance Fair clearance sale? Doom roared in outrage, electricity surging as he gave chase. Insolent arachnid. Doom will teach you respect. Gray Matter leapt from Spider-Man's shoulder onto a nearby console as they passed, immediately getting to work on Iron Man's improvised stabilizer. Stark. Your quantum alignment is off by 0.03 degrees, the tiny alien called out. Tony glanced down in surprise. When did you get so small? And so, quantum physics why? Gray Matter form. Enhanced intelligence, Ben explained rapidly, tiny hands working deftly across the controls. The portal needs a harmonic resonance pattern that matches my universe's dimensional frequency. Right, Tony nodded, making adjustments. Like tuning to the right radio station. Across the battlefield, Spider-Man was keeping Doom thoroughly occupied, his spider sense allowing him to dodge most attacks while his constant chatter clearly irritated the villain. I gotta say, the whole speaking in third person thing. So last century. Have you considered therapy for that narcissism? Peter called, narrowly avoiding an electrical blast. Doom's Buzzshock form flickered more visibly now, struggling to maintain coherence. With a frustrated growl, he reverted to his armored self. Enough games. Doom thundered, raising both hands. The ground trembled as hidden devices activated throughout the park, converging energy beams on his position. If I cannot claim the Omnitrix directly, I shall claim its home universe instead. The portal shuddered violently as Doom channeled massive energy toward it. On the other side, Gwen cried out, her mana shield straining against the intrusion. He's forcing his way through. Max shouted. Ben, we can't hold him back much longer. Gray Matter's eyes widened. He's using the same dimensional frequency to piggyback on your portal. Stark, we need more power. Already maxed out. Tony replied, his suit glowing dangerously as it channeled energy into the stabilizer. Any more and we risk a cascade failure. Gray Matter leapt onto Iron Man's shoulder, analyzing the situation with his enhanced intellect. There's only one option left. We need to close the portal. What? Tony looked shocked. But your way home, will have to wait, Gray Matter said firmly. If Doom gets access to my universe, both our worlds are in danger. Before Tony could respond, the tiny alien jumped down, slapping the Omnitrix symbol. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a black and green alien with circuitry patterns across his body. Upgrade, the liquid metal alien announced. Without hesitation, Upgrade flowed over Iron Man's armor, merging with it. The suit's red and gold colors changed to black and green with circuit patterns glowing throughout. Whoa! Tony exclaimed from within as his systems suddenly supercharged. What are you doing? Temporarily upgrading your tech, Ben's voice replied, now with a mechanical echo. My galvanic mechamorph form can enhance and control technology. Together, we can generate enough power to disrupt Doom's attempt. The merged Iron Man/Upgrade raised their arms, unleashing a blast of energy unlike anything Tony's armor could normally produce. The beam struck Doom's channel power, creating a feedback loop that disrupted his entire network. No! Doom shouted as his equipment began to overload. This cannot be. Through the destabilizing portal, Max and Gwen watched in amazement. Ben, what are you doing? Gwen called out. The portal's failing. I know. Upgrade replied, still merged with Iron Man. Doom's trying to invade our universe. I can't let that happen, even if it means I'm stuck here longer. Max's expression showed understanding mixed with pride. You're making the right choice, Ben. We'll find another way to bring you home. I know you will. Ben called back as the portal began to shrink. Tell everyone I'm okay. I've made some pretty amazing friends here. Doom, seeing his plan unraveling, made one desperate move. He activated his armor's teleportation system, aiming directly for the closing portal. If I cannot have the universe, I shall have its greatest weapon. Spider-Man, seeing Doom's intent, fired a desperate webline that caught the villain's cloak. Oh no, you don't. The unexpected resistance disrupted Doom's trajectory just enough. Instead of teleporting through the portal, he materialized in the energy field between dimensions. The villain screamed as conflicting realities tore at his armor, dimensional energy crackling around him. What's happening to him? Spider-Man asked, horrified despite himself. Caught between dimensions, Upgrade explained, his merged form with Iron Man hovering nearby. Not a pleasant place to be. With a final burst of disruptive energy, the portal collapsed completely. The feedback explosion hurled Doom backward, his armor smoking and sparking as he crashed into the ground, creating a small crater. Upgrade separated from Iron Man's armor, reverting to Ben's human form as exhaustion hit him. The battle was over, but at a terrible cost, his way home had been closed. I'm sorry, kid, Tony said quietly, his armor returning to its normal colors. That couldn't have been an easy choice. Ben stared at the empty space where the portal had been. It was the only choice. Doom would have invaded my universe, and without the plumbers or other heroes ready for him. Spider-Man landed beside them, placing a comforting hand on Ben's shoulder. For what it's worth, that was one of the most heroic things I've ever seen someone do. Ben managed a small smile. Thanks. I just hope Grandpa and Gwen can find another way to reach me. Their moment was interrupted by movement from Doom's crater. The armored villain was struggling to his feet, his once pristine armor now cracked and damaged, energy leaking from various breaches. This is not over, Doom growled, voice distorted by damaged systems. Doom does not accept defeat. Iron Man raised his repulsors. Stand down, Victor. You're in no condition to continue this fight. Doom laughed, a harsh, mechanical sound. Perhaps not. But I have achieved more than you realize. He raised his gauntlet, displaying a holographic readout. The dimensional coordinates are mine. Your universe's unique frequency is now encoded in my systems, Tennyson. Ben's eyes widened. No. Yes, Doom confirmed. I may not have passed through today, but it is merely a matter of time before I perfect my own portal. Your world will still be mine. Not if we destroy that data first, Iron Man countered, firing a precision repulsor blast at Doom's gauntlet. The villain moved with surprising speed despite his damaged state, deflecting the blast. Too late, Stark. The data is already transmitted to my secure networks. And now, I take my leave. Before anyone could stop him, Doom activated his emergency teleportation. Unlike his previous attempt, this one functioned properly, though sparks of errant energy suggested it was barely operational. In a flash, he vanished, retreating to lick his wounds and plan his next move. Should we go after him? Spider-Man asked. Tony shook his head. Not in our current state. And Latveria is sovereign territory, diplomatic nightmare. We need to regroup and prepare for his next move. Ben slumped onto a nearby bench, the adrenaline of battle giving way to the crushing realization that he'd just sacrificed his way home. The park around them was a disaster zone, scorched earth, broken equipment, and lingering energy readings that would take days to dissipate. What now? He asked quietly. Tony sat beside him, armor whirring as it adjusted to the seated position. Now we head back to the tower, get some rest, and start working on a new plan. Doom may have the coordinates, but his dimensional tech is damaged. We've bought ourselves time. And you've got something he doesn't, Spider-Man added, perching on the back of the bench. What's that? Ben asked. Peter grinned beneath his mask. Us. The mood at Avengers Tower was subdued that afternoon. The team had successfully contained Doom's forces at the secondary sites, but news of the failed portal attempt and Doom's escape with dimensional coordinates had tempered any celebration. Ben sat in the common area, absent-mindedly flipping through television channels without really watching anything. The Omnitrix had fully recharged, but he felt no urge to transform. What was the point? He was stranded in a universe not his own, and Doom now had the means to potentially invade his home. Thinking deep thoughts? Natasha asked, appearing silently beside the couch. Ben startled slightly. How do you do that? Just materialize out of nowhere. Trade secret, she replied with a hint of a smile. You did good today, Ben. Did I? Doom got away with the coordinates to my universe, and I'm still stuck here. You sacrificed your ticket home to protect both our worlds, she corrected. That's not failure. That's heroism. Before Ben could respond, Steve walked in, followed by Tony and Bruce. Team meeting, Steve announced. We need to discuss next steps. Ben straightened as the others gathered around. Something in their expressions caught his attention, they looked determined, but not defeated. We've been analyzing the energy readings from the portal event, Bruce began, bringing up holographic displays. And we've made an interesting discovery. The connection between our universes is stronger now, Tony continued. Like a path has been beaten through the dimensional underbrush. Future attempts to open a portal should be easier, from either side. Hope flickered in Ben's chest. So Grandpa and Gwen might be able to try again. Exactly, Bruce nodded. And with the quantum resonance patterns we recorded, we could potentially build our own portal generator, one specifically calibrated to your universe. How long would that take? Ben asked. Tony grimaced slightly. That's the catch. We're talking weeks, maybe months of work. This isn't like building a new suit, dimensional physics is bleeding-edge stuff, even for me. The more pressing concern is Doom, Steve interjected. Our intelligence suggests he's accelerated work on his own dimensional technology. With the coordinates he captured today, he has a specific target now. My universe, Ben said grimly. Yes. Which means we need to prepare for the possibility that he'll make another attempt soon, Steve continued. Probably with more forces and better equipment. Ben stood up, resolve hardening. Then we stop him. Permanently this time. Easier said than done, Natasha pointed out. Doom's hold up in Latveria, sovereign soil. We can't just raid his castle without causing an international incident. Not to mention his defenses are legendary, Bruce added. Magical and technological barriers that even Thor has trouble with. Ben paced thoughtfully, an idea forming. What if we didn't have to go to him? What if we let him come to us? Tony raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Doom wants the Omnitrix, right? And he wants access to my universe. What if we offered him both, on our terms? A trap, Steve realized. Exactly, Ben confirmed. We leak information that you've made a breakthrough, a stable portal device calibrated to my universe. One that requires the Omnitrix to activate. Doom would never fall for something so obvious, Natasha objected. He would if his own intelligence confirmed it, Tony countered, warming to the idea. If we actually built something convincing enough to fool his spies. We'd need to make it look real, Bruce mused. Functional enough to pass inspection, but designed to fail in a very specific way. A way that would neutralize Doom's dimensional tech for good, Ben finished. Maybe even trap him between dimensions like almost happened today. The team exchanged looks, considering the plan's merits and risks. It's dangerous, Steve said finally. A lot could go wrong. Got a better idea? Ben challenged. After a moment, Steve shook his head. No. But if we do this, we do it right. Full preparation, contingencies for every scenario, and a clear extraction plan if things go sideways. So we're doing this? Ben asked, looking around at the assembled heroes. Tony clapped his hands decisively. We're doing this. Operation Doom Trap is a go. Friday, clear my schedule for the next week. We've got a fake dimensional portal to build. The next 5 days were a whirlwind of activity. Tony, Bruce, and a select team of trusted scientists worked around the clock to construct what appeared to be a functional dimensional portal in a secure facility upstate. The device was impressive, a massive ring of energy conductors surrounding a central platform, with control consoles and power regulators that gave off the appropriate energy signatures. In reality, the machine was designed to create a convincing light show while actually generating a localized dimensional pocket, not a true portal, but an energy sink that would trap anyone attempting to hijack it. Meanwhile, Ben worked with Natasha, Steve, and various other Avengers to prepare for every possible scenario. They ran combat simulations against Doom's known capabilities, practiced coordinated responses to his various copied alien forms, and developed contingency plans for multiple outcomes. Remember, Steve emphasized during one planning session, Doom is arrogant, but he's not stupid. He'll suspect a trap. That's why it has to be convincing, Ben replied. He needs to believe he's outsmarting us. To sell the deception, they deliberately allowed certain information to leak. Strategic conversations held in locations known to be monitored by Latverian intelligence. Technical specifications, accidentally, transmitted over hackable channels. Even a fake argument between Tony and Steve about the recklessness of the Portal project, staged for the benefit of listening devices. The final touch came when Ben publicly expressed homesickness during a carefully orchestrated outing with Spider-Man, knowing Doom's surveillance would pick it up. Do you think he's buying it? Ben asked Tony on the evening before their planned operation. Tony looked up from final adjustments to the fake portal. Fridays detected increased Latverian cyber activity probing our systems. And our satellite imaging shows unusual movement around Doom's castle. He's mobilizing. Good, Ben nodded, though butterflies danced in his stomach. Then it's working. Having second thoughts? Tony asked perceptively. No, Ben replied quickly, too quickly. Well, maybe a few. This is Doom we're talking about. If something goes wrong. Kid, something always goes wrong, Tony said with a wry smile. That's why we have backup plans for our backup plans. And why we've assembled enough firepower to handle whatever Doom throws at us. Indeed, the response team for the operation was impressive. Beyond the core Avengers, they'd recruited Spider-Man, several X-Men, and even the recently returned Fantastic Four, who had a personal interest in any plan to neutralize their longtime nemesis. "Try to get some rest," Tony advised, patting Ben's shoulder. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day, one way or another." Ben nodded and headed for his room, though he doubted sleep would come easily. As he walked the halls of the facility, he passed Reed Richards and Sue Storm deep in technical discussion about dimensional barriers. In the training room, Logan was sparring with Steve, neither man showing signs of tiring despite the late hour. Everyone was on edge, preparing in their own way. In his room, Ben sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the Omnitrix. It glowed softly in the darkness, a reminder of home and the responsibility he carried. Tomorrow could change everything, either sending Doom on a one-way trip to dimensional limbo, or potentially giving the villain exactly what he wanted. "No pressure," Ben muttered to himself. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find Peter Parker, also looking too wired to sleep. "Hey," Peter greeted. "Thought you might want company. Or distraction. Or both." Ben smiled gratefully. "Both sounds good." They ended up on the facility's roof, legs dangling over the edge as they stared at the star-filled sky. The compound was isolated enough that the Milky Way spread out in all its glory above them. "Same stars, different universe," Ben observed. "Kind of puts things in perspective." Peter nodded. "Makes you wonder how many other Bens and Peters are looking up at these same stars across the multiverse." "In my universe, you're just a comic book character," Ben reminded him. "Though now I'm wondering if those comics are somehow tapping into actual parallel dimensions. That would explain why my life feels like someone's writing cruel plot twists sometimes," Peter joked. They laughed, the tension momentarily broken. For a while, they weren't heroes preparing for a dangerous mission, just two teenagers sharing a moment under the stars. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Peter said eventually, "it's been pretty cool having you around. Like having a brother in the superhero business." "Yeah," Ben agreed. "Even with all the dimensional drama and Doom trying to steal my watch, this has been, I don't know, special, I guess." "If you do get home," Peter asked, "what's the first thing you'll do?" Ben thought for a moment. "Hug my cousin Gwen and Grandpa Max. Then probably get a Mr. Smoothie." He laughed at Peter's confused expression. "It's this smoothie shop I love. Makes the weirdest flavor combinations you can imagine." "Sounds disgusting," Peter grinned. "Totally is," Ben confirmed. "That's part of the charm." They fell into comfortable silence again, each lost in their own thoughts about the coming day. "We should try to sleep," Peter said eventually. "Cap will have my head if I'm yawning during the mission briefing." Ben nodded, though he doubted sleep would come easily. As they headed back inside, he glanced once more at the stars, wondering if somewhere across the dimensional divide, his family was looking up at the same sky, planning their own rescue attempt. The morning arrived with a sense of inevitability. The facility buzzed with focused energy as final preparations were made. The fake portal, now dubbed the Lure by Tony, hummed convincingly, surrounded by genuine scientific equipment monitoring dimensional frequencies. "Com check," Steve's voice came through the tactical earpieces everyone wore. "Sound off." One by one, the assembled heroes confirmed their positions. Some were visible, part of the apparent skeleton crew operating the portal. Others remained hidden throughout the facility, ready to respond when Doom made his move. Ben stood on the central platform, Omnitrix exposed as he pretended to calibrate it with the portal systems. He wore a white lab coat over his normal clothes, looking every bit the scientific assistant helping with the final adjustments. "How convincing do I look?" he asked Tony, who was making a show of checking readings nearby. "Like a regular little dimension hopper," Tony confirmed. "Remember, the goal is to keep Doom focused on the portal and the Omnitrix. The longer we can hold his attention, the better chance our trap has of working." Ben nodded, trying to look appropriately busy while battling nerves. This wasn't his first dangerous mission, not by a long shot, but the stakes felt uniquely personal. His universe, his family, his path home, all hung in the balance. Movement detected on the perimeter, Natasha's voice came through the comms. She was hidden in a security station, monitoring surveillance feeds. Standard Latverian scout drones. They're keeping their distance, just observing. Perfect, Tony replied. Right on schedule. Friday, initiate stage 1. The facility's power output suddenly spiked dramatically, visible on the monitoring equipment. The portal ring began to spin faster, energy crackling between its conductors as the light show began in earnest. Energy signatures are broadcasting loud and clear, Bruce confirmed from his position at a monitoring station. Anyone watching will register this as a dimensional breach attempt. Ben took his cue, stepping to the center of the platform and raising his arm dramatically. The Omnitrix glowed green as he pretended to interface with the portal systems. Initiating dimensional lock, he called out, the rehearsed lines sounding convincingly technical. Omnitrix synchronizing with portal frequency. The lights in the facility dimmed as power supposedly diverted to the portal. The energy ring spun faster, creating a convincing vortex effect within its circumference. To anyone watching, especially through remote surveillance, it would appear that a dimensional breach was forming. Latverian drones are moving closer, Natasha updated. They're definitely interested. Good, Steve replied from his hidden position. Stay alert. Doom won't be far behind. Minutes stretched tensely as the fake portal continued its impressive display. Ben maintained his position, occasionally adjusting the Omnitrix or calling out technical-sounding updates. Tony and Bruce moved between consoles, their genuine scientific knowledge making their performances all the more convincing. Energy spike detected outside the compound, Friday suddenly announced. Matching known Latverian teleportation signatures. Here we go, Tony muttered. Places, everyone. Ben took a deep breath, centering himself for what was to come. The Omnitrix was fully charged, ready for rapid transformations if needed. Around him, hidden Avengers tensed in anticipation. The facility's lights flickered as electromagnetic interference washed over them, a side effect of Latverian teleportation technology. Moments later, alarms blared as security systems detected the intrusion. We've got company. Natasha called. Main entrance and east wing simultaneously. Doombots leading the charge with something else behind them. Ben and Tony exchanged looks. Something else? They didn't have to wait long for clarification. The laboratory doors blasted inward as Doombots poured through, their armored forms a smaller echo of their master. Behind them came larger figures, humanoid. But clearly not human, with crystalline bodies that reflected the emergency lighting. He's created his own army of Petrosapiens, Ben realized, recognizing the diamond head-like soldiers. Copied from my transformation. Okay, that's new, Tony admitted, his armor flowing over him from its nanite housing. Slight adjustment to the plan, don't get impaled by crystal people. The laboratory erupted into chaos as the defenders engaged the invasion force. Iron Man blasted Doombots while Reed Richards stretched around the crystalline soldiers, corralling them away from the portal. The Human Torch provided air support, fiery form streaking overhead. Where's Doom? Steve demanded over comms, shield ricocheting between enemies as he fought his way into the lab. He should be leading the charge. As if summoned by the question, a massive explosion rocked the far wall. Through the smoke stepped Dr. Doom, his armor gleaming and fully repaired since their last encounter. Energy crackled around his gauntlets as he surveyed the battlefield with cold disdain. Stark, he acknowledged. Your security is as inadequate as ever. Victor, Tony replied casually, blasting another Doombot. Breaking and entering now? That's beneath you. I prefer to think of it as, claiming abandoned property, Doom replied smoothly. His gaze shifted to Ben on the portal platform. The boy and his device rightfully belong in more capable hands. Ben stood his ground, Omnitrix ready. Sorry, Doom. Not interested in a career change. Your interest is irrelevant, Doom stated, striding forward. Where Doombots approached him, they parted respectfully. Where Avengers attempted to intercept, they found themselves blocked by waves of crystal soldiers. The Omnitrix will serve a greater purpose under my guidance. Now would be a good time for that thing we discussed, Tony called to Ben, busy fending off multiple attackers. Ben nodded, activating the Omnitrix. Let's see how your knockoffs compare to the real thing. He slammed down on the core, transforming in a flash of green light into Diamond Head. Fitting, Doom observed. But predictable. With a gesture, he commanded his crystal soldiers to attack. Diamond Head met them head-on, his experience with his own powers giving him a significant advantage despite being outnumbered. Where the soldiers created basic crystal formations, Diamond Head manipulated his body with precise control, creating complex weapons and shields that outclassed their abilities. You can copy the form, Diamond Head called to Doom as he dispatched another soldier, but not the experience. A temporary limitation, Doom replied, still advancing steadily toward the portal. One of many I intend to overcome. Around them, the battle raged. The thing grappled with several Doombots while Invisible Woman created force fields to contain the crystal soldiers. Spider-Man swung overhead, webbing enemies together and keeping them disoriented with constant movement and quips. Despite their preparations, Doom's forces were formidable. The villain had clearly planned this assault meticulously, his troops focusing on controlling access to the portal rather than outright victory. He's hurting us, Steve realized over comms. Controlling the battlefield flow to reach the portal. Stick to the plan, Natasha reminded everyone. Let him think he's winning. Diamond Head, hearing this, adjusted his tactics. He began giving ground strategically, appearing to be driven back toward the portal by the crystal soldiers. In reality, he was positioning himself exactly where they needed Doom to focus. The portal's power is fluctuating. Bruce called out, maintaining the ruse. We're losing stability. Defend the control systems. Tony ordered, playing his part. Don't let them near the regulators. Doom, as anticipated, took the bait. He raised his hands, energy building around them. Your efforts are futile. The dimensional gateway will serve my purpose now. With a powerful blast, he knocked back the defenders nearest the control console, creating a path for himself. More Doombots poured in through the breached wall, occupying the Avengers while Doom approached the portal platform. Diamond Head found himself facing Doom directly, a final obstacle between the villain and his target. Stand aside, Tennyson, Doom commanded. Your role in this drama is concluding. Not a chance, Tin Face, Diamond Head retorted, hands morphing into crystalline blades. You want the portal? You go through me first. Doom sighed theatrically. As you wish. Green energy enveloped him as he transformed, not into Diamond Head as expected, but into a new form Ben recognized immediately. Where Doom had stood was now a hulking, red-skinned behemoth with 4 massive arms. 4 arms. Doom bellowed, flexing his newly enhanced muscles. Your favorite form, if I recall correctly. Shall we test its limits? Before Diamond Head could react, 4 arms Doom charged forward with surprising speed. All 4 fists connected simultaneously, sending the crystalline alien crashing into the portal platform. Ben! Spider-Man called out, trying to swing to his aid but intercepted by crystal soldiers. Diamond Head struggled to his feet, body cracked from the impact. Okay, that hurt. Time to switch things up. He slapped the Omnitrix symbol, transforming in a flash of green light. Heat blast. The magma-based alien's flames roared to life, immediately raising the temperature around him. Let's see how you handle the heat, Doom. 4 arms Doom paused, calculating. Predictable counter. But insufficient. Instead of transforming again, he raised a device attached to his belt, a small disc that projected an energy shield around him. I've come prepared for all your forms, Tennyson. Heat Blast unleashed waves of intense flame, but the shield held, dispersing the heat. Meanwhile, Doom continued advancing toward the portal controls. Tony. Heat Blast called out. He's got countermeasures. Stick to the plan. Iron Man replied, blasting through Doombots to reach them. Keep him focused on the portal. Heat Blast nodded, changing tactics. Instead of attacking Doom directly, he turned his flames on the portal itself. If I can't stop you, I'll destroy it before you can use it. No. Doom shouted, exactly as they'd hoped. He abandoned his advance toward the controls, leaping to intercept Heat Blast's attack on the portal ring. You fool. Do you realize what dimensional energies you're tampering with? Pretty much. Heat Blast replied, continuing to heat the supposedly critical components. Better destroyed than in your hands. For arms, Doom grabbed Heat Blast, using his superior strength to pull the fiery alien away from the equipment. Your sacrifice will be meaningless. I have studied this technology extensively. Even damaged, I can repurpose it. Heat Blast struggled in the powerful grip. Wanna bet? He transformed again, this time into a small, amphibian-like creature. Gray Matter, the tiny alien announced, easily slipping from Doom's grasp. Catch me if you can, Slowpoke. Gray Matter scurried through the machinery, small enough to access internal components while evading Doom's attempts to recapture him. This had been part of their plan: keep Doom focused on Ben and the portal, make him believe he was close to victory. Your childish antics only delay the inevitable, Doom growled, returning to his armored form to better track the tiny alien. The dimensional gateway will be mine, as will the Omnitrix. Big talk from a guy who wears a trash can for a helmet, Gray Matter taunted, popping up behind a control panel. Tell me, do you polish that thing yourself, or do you have little Doombots with tiny rags? The taunt had its intended effect. Doom's focus narrowed on catching the elusive alien, his attention fully committed to the portal area, exactly where they wanted him. Now. Tony called over the comms. Gray Matter hit a concealed switch, then quickly transformed into a new alien form, one with a black body, green circuit patterns, and the ability to merge with technology. Upgrade, he announced. Immediately flowing over the portal ring. Let's see how you like our actual plan, Doom. The portal machinery transformed under Upgrade's control, its appearance shifting to reveal hidden components. The energy pattern changed dramatically, no longer mimicking a dimensional breach but rather forming a contained vortex, an energy sink designed specifically to trap dimensional travelers. What is this? Doom demanded, realizing too late that he'd been deceived. What have you done? Created a one-way ticket to nowhere, Tony replied, hovering nearby in his armor. Specialized dimensional pocket. No exit, no communication, no escape. A trap, Doom realized, fury evident even behind his mask. You never intended to open a portal to the boys' universe. Give the evil genius a prize, Spider-Man quipped, joining them now that most of the Doombots and Crystal Soldiers were contained. Though evil is doing some heavy lifting there. Predictable might be better. Doom assessed the situation rapidly, calculating options as Avengers and their allies closed in around him. His forces were depleted, his primary objective revealed as a deception, and the trap was actively powering up. You believe you've outmaneuvered Doom? He asked, voice dangerously calm. A grave miscalculation. Without warning, he activated something on his armor. The facility's power grid suddenly fluctuated wildly, lights flickering as energy was siphoned directly into Doom's systems. He's hacking our power network. Bruce called out in alarm. The containment field is destabilizing. Upgrade maintained his hold on the portal machinery, fighting Doom's intrusion. He's trying to reverse the polarity. If he succeeds, the trap becomes a genuine portal, Tony finished grimly. One he can control. The standoff intensified as both Upgrade and Doom struggled for dominance over the system. Energy crackled dangerously throughout the lab, forcing other heroes to fall back. I cannot be defeated by such obvious trickery, Doom declared, channeling more power into his override attempt. Your deception merely delays my victory. Upgrade strained against the intrusion, his technological form uniquely suited to this battle of wills and system control. You're not winning this one. The energy vortex in the center of the portal ring fluctuated violently, shifting between Upgrade's contained trap and Doom's attempted breakthrough. Reality itself seemed to waver in the balance, dimensional energy becoming increasingly unstable. We need to shut it down. Reed Richards called out, his scientific expertise recognizing the danger. The dimensional frequencies are collapsing into each other. If we shut down now, we lose our chance to contain him. Steve replied, shield raised against the energy discharges. And if we don't, we risk tearing open multiple dimensional breaches at once. Reed countered. The decision was taken from them when Doom, seeing his advantage slipping, played his final card. He activated another device on his gauntlet, one that sent a focused electromagnetic pulse through the system. If I cannot claim the portal, he declared, neither shall you. The pulse disrupted both Upgrade's control and the portal's containment systems simultaneously. Energy surged uncontrollably, the vortex expanding beyond its intended boundaries. Everyone back! Tony shouted, recognizing the imminent failure cascade. Upgrade detached from the machinery just before it overloaded, transforming back to Ben as he dove for cover. The portal ring spun faster and faster, its energy containment failing catastrophically. But instead of exploding as expected, something even more unusual occurred. The vortex stabilized momentarily, pulsing with familiar green energy that matched the Omnitrix's glow. That's not possible, Bruce breathed, staring at the readings. It's resonating with Ben's dimensional frequency. Through the suddenly stable portal, images began to appear, not of the dimensional pocket they designed, but of another reality entirely. Ben recognized it immediately. That's my universe, he exclaimed, spotting what appeared to be Bellwood in the distance. That's home. Doom, seeing this unexpected development, moved decisively. The gateway opens. Victory is mine after all. He charged toward the portal, armor gathering energy for what would clearly be an invasion attempt. Stop him. Steve ordered, but energy discharges from the unstable portal kept the heroes at bay. Ben had only seconds to decide. The portal was unstable, would likely collapse momentarily. Doom was about to breach his home universe. And he was the only one positioned to intercept. I'm sorry, guys, he said, activating the Omnitrix one last time. But I've got to stop him. He transformed into Cannonball, a heavily armored alien capable of propelling himself at incredible speeds, and launched directly at Doom. No, the villain roared as the living projectile collided with him just as he reached the portal's edge. The impact drove both of them through the dimensional gateway, the unstable energy field collapsing immediately behind them. The portal imploded with a thunderclap of displaced air, leaving nothing but damaged equipment and stunned heroes in its wake. Ben! Spider-Man called out, rushing to where the portal had been. Ben! But there was no response. The dimensional gateway had closed completely, taking both Ben Tennyson and Dr. Doom with it. Friday, analysis, Tony demanded, landing beside the destroyed platform. Where did they go? Dimensional transit confirmed, Friday replied after a moment. Energy signature matching Ben's home universe detected momentarily before collapse. So he made it home? Bruce asked cautiously. Along with Doom, Steve added grimly. I'm not sure if that counts as a win. The facility fell silent as the implications sank in. Their plan to trap Doom had failed spectacularly, and cost them their friend in the process. Could we rebuild it? Peter asked, voice small beneath his mask. Open another portal? Tony surveyed the destroyed equipment, calculations already running through his mind. Maybe. Eventually. But without the Omnitrix's specific frequency to lock onto. It would be like searching for a specific grain of sand across infinite beaches, Reed finished solemnly. The silence that followed was heavy with loss and uncertainty. Ben was gone, hopefully home, but facing doom alone. Blinding light and disorienting pressure surrounded Ben as he and Doom tumbled through dimensional space. The journey lasted both an instant and an eternity, reality itself bending around them during the transition. Then, with jarring suddenness, they crashed onto solid ground. The impact separated them, sending each rolling in opposite directions across what felt like asphalt. Ben's cannonball form absorbed most of the damage, its armored shell designed for high-impact collisions. As he came to a stop, he transformed back to human form, disoriented but conscious. "Where?" he mumbled, blinking as his vision cleared. Familiar buildings surrounded him. A skyline he recognized instantly. And above, a clear blue sky unmarred by dimensional rifts or energy distortions. Bellwood, he breathed, recognizing his hometown. "I'm home." A groan from nearby reminded him he wasn't alone. Dr. Doom was struggling to his feet, his armor smoking and damaged from the dimensional transit. "What have you done?" Doom demanded, voice distorted by malfunctioning systems. "Where have you taken me?" "Exactly where you wanted to go," Ben replied, standing despite his exhaustion. "My universe. Just not exactly how you planned to arrive." Doom assessed their surroundings, quickly noting the differences from his own reality. Fascinating. A world without Latveria, without Doom. "A world that's going to stay that way," Ben declared, activating the Omnitrix once more. It glowed green, fully functional in its home dimension. "You're not conquering anything today, Doom." Before the villain could respond, the street around them erupted with activity. Vehicles bearing the plumber insignia screeched to a halt, forming a perimeter. From one jumped Max Tennyson, looking exactly as Ben remembered him. "Ben!" Max called out, face lighting up with relief and joy. "Grandpa!" Ben nearly choked on the word, emotion overwhelming him. From another vehicle emerged Gwen, her hands already glowing with mana energy as she assessed the armored threat. "Ben, get back. We'll handle this." Doom surveyed the newcomers with cold calculation. "More children and old men. Your world's defenders are unimpressive, Tennyson." "Then you're in for a big surprise," Ben retorted. He slammed down on the Omnitrix, transforming into a familiar form, the liquid metal mutant he'd acquired in the Marvel Universe. Mercurial. Doom took an involuntary step back, clearly not recognizing this transformation. "What is this?" "This form was not in my database." "A little souvenir from your universe," Mercurial replied, his liquid metal body flowing toward Doom with incredible speed. "Turns out the Omnitrix can sample mutant DNA too." The battle that followed was brief but intense. Doom, damaged from the dimensional transit and unfamiliar with this new world, found himself outmatched against Ben's home field advantage. When Max's plumber team deployed specialized containment technology, Doom's fate was sealed. "This is not defeat," the villain declared as energy restraints neutralized his armor's functions. "Merely a strategic withdrawal. Doom will return." Yeah, Ben replied, transforming back to human form. "They all say that." With Doom securely contained in a plumber transport, Ben finally had a moment to embrace his family. Max pulled him into a bear hug that nearly crushed his ribs, while Gwen waited impatiently for her turn. "We thought we'd lost you for good," Max said, voice rough with emotion. "When the dimensional stabilizer malfunctioned, I know," Ben interrupted. "I've been trying to get back the whole time." "Who was that metal guy?" Gwen asked, finally claiming her own hug. "And why did he talk about himself in the third person?" "Major ego issues." Ben laughed, the sound carefree for the first time in weeks. "That's a really long story. Involving superheroes, alternate universes, and, actually, you're not going to believe most of it." Try us, Max encouraged, leading them toward the rust bucket, the old RV looking exactly as Ben remembered it. As they walked, Ben glanced back at the spot where the dimensional portal had closed. Somewhere across the multiverse, the Avengers were probably still standing around the destroyed device, wondering if he'd made it home safely. "I made some amazing friends there," he said quietly. "I'm going to miss them." "Well," Max replied, a twinkle in his eye, "once we've debriefed and secured our armored friend, maybe we can see about establishing a more controlled dimensional link. After all, we've got coordinates now." Ben's eyes widened. "You mean, the plumbers have been working on safe dimensional travel tech for years," Max explained. "Your little adventure just gave us the breakthrough we needed." Hope surged through Ben as he climbed into the familiar confines of the rust bucket. He was home, safe with his family. Doom was contained, his invasion plans thwarted. And just maybe, this wasn't goodbye to his Marvel friends after all. As the RV pulled away, Ben looked down at the Omnitrix. Its familiar green glow was comforting, but he now understood its potential in a way he never had before. Worlds upon worlds of possibilities, heroes across dimensions facing similar challenges. One universe or another, he murmured to himself, a hero's still a hero. 3 months later, in Avengers Tower, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner stood before a much smaller version of their dimensional communicator. This one wasn't designed for physical transport, just communication, a quantum-entangled signal transmitter calibrated to a very specific frequency. "You sure this will work?" Peter asked, watching anxiously from nearby. "It's been months with no signal." "Science takes time, kid," Tony replied, though his own tension was evident in his precise movements. "Especially when you're trying to call across dimensions." The device powered up, its energy signature carefully controlled to prevent another catastrophic breach. For weeks, they'd been sending regular pings into the dimensional void, hoping for a response from Ben's universe. "Signal transmitting," Friday announced. "Scanning for response." The seconds stretched into minutes, hope gradually fading as the familiar silence continued. Peter's shoulders slumped slightly. "Maybe tomorrow," Bruce suggested gently. "We can try again," the communicator suddenly pulsed, a distinctive green energy signature registering on its receptors. "Response detected," Friday announced. "Incoming transmission." The holographic display flickered, then stabilized, showing a familiar face grinning back at them. "Hey guys." Ben Tennyson greeted, his image slightly distorted but unmistakable. "Miss me?" Peter whooped with joy as Tony and Bruce exchanged triumphant looks. Around the room, other Avengers gathered, drawn by the commotion. "Took you long enough to call back," Tony remarked, hiding his relief behind characteristic snark. "We were starting to think you'd forgotten your dimensional pen pals." Ben laughed. "Sorry about that. Been a little busy. Turns out bringing a supervillain home as a souvenir creates a lot of paperwork." "Doom?" Steve asked, stepping into view. "He's contained. Plumber maximum security," Ben confirmed. "Though he keeps demanding diplomatic immunity as the ruler of a country that doesn't exist here." "That sounds like Victor," Reed Richards commented, joining the growing audience. "Arrogant to the last." The conversation flowed easily despite the literally universal distance between them. Ben recounted his readjustment to home, the debriefings, the stunned reactions to his stories about the Marvel Universe. The Avengers shared updates on their own adventures, the villains they'd faced, the changes to the team. "So this communication link," Bruce asked eventually. "Your grandfather's design?" Ben nodded. "Grandpa Max has been working on it since I got back. Says if we can maintain stable communications, maybe eventually we can try small object transport. Then potentially, visits." The possibility hung in the air, tantalizing despite the enormous technical challenges. "That would be something," Tony mused. "Interdimensional exchange program. Very Star Trek." "Until then," Ben continued, I thought you guys might like to know that the Omnitrix has preserved all its Marvel-based transformations. Mercurial is still in the rotation. A piece of our universe. In yours, Peter remarked. That's pretty cool. As the conversation continued, plans were made for regular communication windows, data exchanges, even potential collaborative research. Two universes of heroes, connected by an accidental visitor who had bridged worlds. Well, Ben said eventually, noting someone calling him off-screen. I've got to run. Apparently, some guy called Onimo is trying to turn the local zoo animals into mutant monsters again. Tuesday as usual. Go get M, kid, Tony encouraged. Save some worlds, kick some butt. That's what heroes do, Ben replied with a smile. In any universe. The transmission ended with promises to reconnect soon. As the Avengers dispersed, returning to their own duties and responsibilities, Tony lingered by the communicator, making small adjustments to improve the next transmission. You know, he remarked to no one in particular, of all the interdimensional visitors we've had, that kid might have been my favorite. Peter, the last to leave, smiled. Mine too. Even if he did turn into a living pile of goop sometimes. Outside, New York continued its eternal bustle, unaware of the brief connection to another reality that had just occurred high above its streets. In two universes, heroes went about their duties, protecting their worlds from threats both cosmic and mundane. And in both, the possibility of another adventure together remained, a doorway between worlds, waiting to be opened once more. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.